Canadian Football League, Tom Wright.
Yeah, Rod, we're with Tom here, and obviously the safety issue is the big one here. The lightning was pretty evident probably about 20-25 minutes ago, Tom. You've been in consultation with the officials. What's the latest word?
Well, the latest word is, you're absolutely right, Ray. The most important thing is the safety of the players and our fans here at Taylor Field, and we've been in contact, our officials have been in contact with Environment Canada out of Winnipeg, and we feel very comfortable that the weather system has moved through. I mean, it's raining, but we'll be starting in about a half an hour, and we'll be monitoring it on a constant basis to make sure that it is a safe environment for our players and the fans, and hopefully we'll be able to get this game off.
Who makes this decision in consultation with the officials to either delay it or, if it persisted, postpone the football game?
Well, I think the ultimate decision will rest with me if that comes to it, but I would really rely on the officials here in Regina, our staff and the folks at Environment Canada. I will work on their recommendations, but I'm hopeful that we'll be able to pull this game off.
And there is a situation where there's no lights in one end of the stadium here. Do you just determine it from the officials if there's enough light to play? Exactly.
The officials will be the ultimate determinants of whether or not it's the conditions are right for the game to be played fairly in a competitive basis, and I suspect it will be okay.
Yeah, it should be the same for both teams. And not only that, Rod, they are going to introduce the home team, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, at 8:20, and after that will be the coin toss. So they do anticipate it is going to be an 8:30 kickoff local time, 10:30 Eastern, between the Riders and Bombers. Rod?
All right, thank you, gentlemen. So it's just a standby right now as the weather continues to be a factor. The rain coming down, and these players are drenched. The fans are drenched. It looks like the skies are going to clear, though, and we are going to have football tonight. Let's go back to the studio.
You know, that looks nasty there.
I'm glad we're in here.
I'm from the West Coast.
This is great.
I know rain, and that is, when it's going out sideways like that, that's not a good situation. Hello to those of you who may be just joining us now after watching a very good game between the Toronto Argonauts and the BC Lions. The BC Lions win that one 27-20 is the final. It just happened at the Rogers Centre in Toronto. Those two teams will meet again 3 weeks from now. So, weather stories. We got about 25 minutes to kick it around.
Talk about the weather.
You tell all the weather stories you want, Matty.
I'm now the meteorologist. No.
Yeah, that's it.
I want to know what's going on in the concession stands right now. Those folks there in Regina.
They're drinking a lot of beer.
They're having a good time.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do?
They're having a good time. Yeah.
But 1992, tell us about that.
1992, Cal Murphy, he's, right before he went to the hospital to have his heart replaced, I was... had my first quarter of play in his preseason game. Lights went out. Weather similar to this. Lights went out. Everything shut down. I go to the locker room knowing that my day's over with and sit down. And next thing I know, there's some cool ones on the side of the training table. And I'm just like, whoa, geez, it looks pretty good. I know I'm done. Why not? Pop one open, start having one. And there's a headset right over here, and I hear this little noise coming out of it. Put it on. It's Bob Irving and Joe Popowski. They're on air with CJOP.
On the radio.
On the radio, live. I go, hey, guys. They're like, who's this? It's Matty. What are you doing? I said, well, actually, I'm having a beer. It was great. So I don't mind the weather outages.
So this is the second quarter. What should be the second quarter. You're drinking beer in the training room, talking on the radio.
That's right. That's right.
Boy, that's a veteran move right there.
Kids out there, it's not a recommended procedure.
Well, now, I remember in practice, I mean, as players, we loved it when it was lightning like that as players.
Yeah, because you got the practice cut short.
The practice either got canceled or short, and there was lightning, that's it. You just cleared off the field. So guys used to run out there and used to tape coat hangers to their helmets, or stick them right out the back of their helmets. They ran out there so the coach would say, oh, boy, maybe we got to cancel this practice. That looks mighty dangerous out there. But for game time now, these guys want to play. It's a different situation. These guys are hoping the lightning stops.
Exactly, Schulte. I mean, let's kidding aside here. This is a season opener for both these two teams. They've been building for this game, and now they got to wait another 20 minutes. And does that throw you off?
Absolutely. If you understand football players, everything you do is routine. And you have it down to precise moments when you're taped up, when you're ready to go. Then all of a sudden you find out you're in the locker room, and that tape actually starts getting tighter on your hand because you're supposed to be able to play football, and then you don't notice it. So it's almost like you have to get rewrapped and retaped because of what's happening.
What about Nealon Green? 2003 is his first time back since then. And how do you think he's feeling? Oh, he's just got to be
he's
coming
just
unglued
jumping out
right
of his
about now,
skin,
guys.
Yeah, and the fans are nervous. They're always tough on the Riders. They're waiting for a big start after the season came to an end in the Western Final last year. Well, while we got the chance, let's introduce you to who will be the starting quarterbacks, brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes great. And there is Neil Green's career numbers. He's back as the #1 man for the Riders. And Kevin Glenn, who took over the #1 job last year. It's been quite a competition for the quarterback position in Winnipeg. We'll talk about that and a whole lot more as we await kickoff. Again, the word is kickoff. The bottom of the clock as Danny Barrett talks it over a little bit more with Dave Ewell. Stick around. Welcome back to Wendy's CFL Live. Dave, Jock, Matt, and Chris with you. If you are just joining us, the news out of Regina, if you're waiting for the Bombers and the Riders, is that due to lightning in and around Taylor Field, the game has been delayed. They're supposed to kick things off at the bottom of the clock, so we'll just hang out with you. We'll show you some highlights. We'll talk some football until then, but they are expecting to play the game between the Bombers and the Riders. A game earlier tonight at the Rogers Centre in Toronto, a rematch of last year's Grey Cup. The BC Lions and the Grey Cup champion Toronto Argonauts. And prior to the game, a nice ceremony. Dave Dickinson and the BC Lions no doubt didn't like that. Got the new orange pants. Good look there, but Dave Dickinson didn't like that look. There's a former Lion, Eric England, dancing on him. Argos led 3-0 after one. Second quarter, BC threatening, but Dickinson overthrows. Man in the end zone. Antonio Warren, however, bails him out. 1-yard touchdown run, 7-3 BC. Dickinson, however, cannot escape the Argo pressure there. Noah Cantor, another former Lion, got to him. Dickinson was taking some abuse, but ultimately had the last laugh. Look at that. G. Roy Simon doesn't miss very much. And it was 18-6 Lions at the half. Third quarter. It was really a story of two halves. The Argos started lighting it up. Look at that catch by R.J. Soward. Boltman down by 3 after 3, while the D swarms Dickinson again. 5th sack of the game. Fourth quarter, things got nasty. A big pot up there in the fourth quarter. Bernard Williams of the Argonauts eventually got ejected from the game. And Dave Dickinson rallied the troops. They didn't have much going in the second half, but there's a pass to Tony Simmons, and ultimately they are going to punch this one in with just over a minute to go. Antonio Warren making it 27-20. BC had Bashar Livingston take it all the way down, but he stepped out of bounds, and then they missed Arlen Bruce in the end zone. It's a great finish to what was a great game of a Grey Cup rematch. What you guys think?
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of the Grey Cup game, actually, just a different result. I mean, the scores were very similar. It was 27-20 as opposed to 27-19 in the Grey Cup, and I thought both quarterbacks played quite well. Dickinson obviously didn't look quite as sharp as he did last year. Damon Allen, I thought, looked sharper than he did at this point last season, however, and I think that that rematch in 3 weeks will be really interesting to watch.
Well, I thought Dave Dickinson was sharp, and he was 11 of 14, I believe, in the first half, and he continued to do the little things that I saw a quarterback that makes a quarterback successful, and that what separates Dave Dickinson from most of the quarterbacks in the CFL right now. And it's buying time when he's setting up a screen, waiting at the last second, just getting the ball off to Antonio Warren for a crucial first down. The next play, he steps in the pocket, stays in there as long as he possibly can, throws a touchdown pass to G. Roy Simon. Little things like that made a difference to me watching the game tonight. And Dave Dickinson, Schultz, just looking at him, and I thought that it was a solid game, classic rematch of the Grey Cup last year. These two teams just going at it, solid defense, and two experienced quarterbacks getting the most out of their talent around them.
Well, I think overall, I mean, BC won the game, but I also think they won the battle in the sense that now going into the rest of the season, they're going to be a confident football team because they knocked off the Grey Cup champions. You can't underestimate that value, and because Dickinson played well at key critical moments, it kind of suppresses the KC Printers, Dave Dickinson, who should start quarterback controversy that's always with the BC Lions. But credit the Lions. They came into a field, an area, and an environment. It was hot in that stadium. And coming from Vancouver to come into Toronto, sometimes those Western teams, they don't really react to the heat very well. And I think that was a big part of their win, playing well in the heat.
You're right. We can't tell you enough how hot and sticky it was in Southern Ontario today. And that was a huge factor. And Dickinson took... We've seen that this guy, he's tough, and he proved it again tonight, didn't he?
And he kept getting up, and he kept, delivering the mail. And I know it feels good for Dave, guys. You know it's got to feel good for him.
Absolutely.
To come back and to, be in that position.
Win on the
hear
road.
About it all. Win on the road.
Yep.
and get that burden off his back that's been kind of there all off season.
What, Casey Prentice, you mean?
Well, that
burden?
you can put that
'Cause he's
in
heavy.
there. Put that
he's heavy burden.
I think the Grey Cup lost last year.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
For sure.
and the score is almost identical, right? 27-19 in the Grey Cup, 27-20 tonight. They'll meet again in Week 4 on July 15th at BC Place. All right, again, the update is this from Taylor Field. They're expecting to kick it off between the Bombers and the Riders at the bottom of the clock. They do have a slight power issue, however. Right now, the lights are slowly coming on, so they're going to start the game at what would be 8:30 local time in Regina. If both coaches are unsatisfied with the lighting condition, unless this power issue settles itself, they're going to call the game. But that's what we know right now. This story is developing by the minute, but they're hoping to start and play the entire game between the Bombers and the Riders. More after this.
Forget about it.
Look out! Milt Stegall could go! Touchdown!
This is beautiful. Roberts still on his feet, wide open. Yep. Oh, baby. Pete Stokes is A-OK. And that was some kind of collision.
Well, here is a shot in Regina. Bombers and Riders trying to play their game. The lighting is just coming on. There was thunder and lightning in the area. They're worried about the lighting as well, whether it will come on in time to play. We're hoping we'll have it for you at the bottom of the hour. And it's coming up next, hopefully. And I'm sure we here in Toronto could have used some of that rain they're having. It was stinking hot here. But I know they would like to get their game underway. And, of course, football players are tough. They can play in the rain.
We've got the complete CFL story, though, coming up at 11 Pacific. Let's head back down the hall to our CFL panel.
Old school, baby! Look out! Milt Stegall! Touchdown!
For you, baby. You guys found me all night. Touchdown! Kenton Keith! Oh, baby. Keith Stokes is A-OK. It's on Glenn. Fires. Touchdown!
We're gonna have some fun.
All right, no, better late than never. That's the bottom line tonight. Dave, Chris, Matt, and Jocko. We're about to start between the Bombers and the Riders. One of the great rivalries in the league, one that's usually reserved for later in the season. In fact, these two have not met in a season opener since 1982. The Riders, Matt, are looking to get at least back to the Western Final again, and they're looking to prove to everybody that just because they lost their quarterback in the offseason, that's not going to do them in.
That's right. They were led by Henry Burst last year when Nealon Green went down early in the season. And this year, once again, Nealon gets to step up and lead, once again, a very talented football team. Nealon Green, once again, has been given the opportunity by head coach Danny Barrett, who believes in this guy. And what Nealon needs to do is just keep feeding the ball to these fellas. All the good quality, talented people around him. Kenton Keith's going to be a large part of that, no doubt. But I tell you, Jock, Nealon Green is chomping at the bit, because the last time we've seen this guy was 2003. I know he's ready to get out there and start playing rain or shine.
Yeah, and he's looking to reverse a trend that's really been to the disadvantage of Saskatchewan. You realize they've lost 7 straight games to these Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and I'm not sure that streak is going to continue tonight, and I'll tell you why. First of all, Winnipeg, much different football team this year. They've got a completely revamped football team. Second of all, Saskatchewan, completely different football team after losing 2 straight to Winnipeg. Last year after Labor Day, they went on to win 6 straight.
You know, Jock, I have some faith in the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, because when you look at teams, they're either refining, reloading, or rebuilding. Winnipeg's rebuilding, but Coach Daly, the head coach, he holds people accountable. His own coach is accountable. I think they'll progress. It's up to Charles Roberts to carry the load early in this football season, Dave. One thing I like about Charles Roberts more than anything else is acceleration. He may only be 5'6", 165 pounds, but this is a young man that his eyes and his feet work so well together. As this football season goes down, you can't expect Kevin Glenn to really dominate, but you can expect Charles Roberts to dominate. Give him the football. Force feed this young man. Dave, you ever been force fed?
No, and I hope that doesn't happen anytime soon. In the next near future, 2 of the top running backs in the league set to go head-to-head. Let's finally take it to Taylor Field, Rod Black and Leif Pedersen. Guys?
Thank you, gentlemen. Good evening, Canada. The lights are on at Taylor Field, but the clouds still surround this stadium. There is another weather cell, they say, that could reach by halftime. We've seen some lightning in the area, but 30 minutes after this game was supposed to kick off, we will kick off. And the weather forecast, 16 degrees Celsius. The wind is picking up, and again, the forecast tonight is for more rain. Good, really good. Here's Jim Daly, the head coach who replaced Dave Ritchie last season. Well, the Rider Nation has been waiting for this ever since their team bowed out in the Western Final to the BC Lions. There's Karsten Bailey. He'll be back along with Corey Holmes. Troy Westwood will kick it off for the Blue Bombers.
And Troy Westwood is kicking into that very gusty wind into his face.
Here we go. A little late, but we have football. Holmes with an opening on this wet turf. Corey Holmes down the sideline. Are you kidding me? Touchdown, Saskatchewan.
No flags. What a way to begin 2005.
Well, we had lightning earlier.
Oh, that was some Major League lightning right there. The all-purpose leader in total yardage from 1 year ago. Corey Holmes electrifies this crowd at Taylor Field. There you see it, short kick by Troy Westwood into that wind. Good block. There's Karsten Bailey out in front leading his kick return partner. A great final block, and then it's all Corey Holmes, and my oh my.
Splash, yes. Down the sidelines. Paul McCallum with the convert. 7-0 Roughriders. Holmes, sweet Holmes.
Well, again, Corey Holmes a year ago over 2,700 all-purpose yards, and here he made it look rather easy. Really, not one hand of a Winnipeg Blue Bomber touched him right here. Good block by Bailey there on Kamal Peterson, the safety, and Westwood had no shot. There's a new scoreboard, a new Videotron here in Saskatchewan, and the fans are loving watching that kick return over and over again.
Boy, did not take long to find the end zone, to put a highlight up on that video board, and to get the first celebration dance of the season for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, obviously a great way to start this season, but for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, too, who have so many question marks in their lineups, and there is Jim Daly and Rod Russ talking about things. I mean, you know, they barely can begin to game plan for another team. They're just trying to get their team and starters sorted out. They've got 10 out of 24 new starters on defense and offense, and Jim Daly merely said tonight, we're just trying to get to a stage where we can execute our game plan, not let alone trying to worry about someone else's.
Well, we might have some more fireworks here tonight. Of course, Keith Stokes, the electrifying kick returner of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, will get his turn. Special Teams Player of the Year last year. There's Stokes, brought down after Corey Holmes had his first ever career kickoff return. Kevin Glenn, the former Rider, and the Winnipeg Blue Bomber offense on the field. The starting lineups brought to you by Tums. Tums tackles hard, burn fast.
Well, I agreed with Chris Schultz. He said Charles Roberts has to be the man tonight for Winnipeg on offense, and I totally agree with that. Newcomers, Wayne McGarity over from the Calgary Stampeders, Mike Abumershik over from Ottawa, Matt Sheridan first start at center, Dan Getfe, new left guard. A lot of new faces in this Winnipeg lineup.
One of the reliable faces, reliable players is Charles Blink Roberts. Expect him to get a lot of football as we take a look at the defense for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
And it's a really veteran group, the linebacking core and the defensive secondary. This is the 5th year that this group has been together. They don't make a lot of mistakes. They make you earn your points. They don't give up a lot of big plays. This is a terrific group, and when you're trying to establish a Charles Roberts on offense, this is a tough defense to try to do it against.
2nd and 7, throwing situation from the shotgun for Glenn. Out of the backfield is Roberts, and he will have a first down for Winnipeg. And he has words as well for Ladolphus McCalla, one of the impressive members of that secondary for Saskatchewan.
Good read by Kevin Glenn. He had Milt Stiegel to that side clearing out, and they paid an awful lot of attention to him, and that left Roberts open in the flat. And sometimes you just have to take the underneath stuff, and even though it was second and rather long, I thought that was a great read early in the game for Kevin Glenn.
Big play for the Bombers to get their feet grounded here in Taylor Field after a shocking opening to this game. You know, Glenn has something to prove with flags flying here. This one into traffic for Milt Stiegel, but a penalty on the play.
Well, we'll see what it is, but I think what Saskatchewan's going to do tonight, I mean, you look at the wide receivers for Winnipeg. You got Kamal Peterson and Scott Cloman. Scott Cloman, essentially a rookie, played a little bit with Edmonton last year. But
Winnipeg 85. Penalties decline. Second down.
If I'm Saskatchewan, I double team and pay a lot of attention to number 85, Milt Stiegel, right there. And let your corners, McCalla and Morgan, just play one-on-one with the outside receivers of Winnipeg. I don't think they're going to terrify anybody, and I think Milt Stiegel's going to see a lot of double coverage tonight. And you know, that's what I would certainly do if I'm Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator for Saskatchewan.
2nd and 10 now. With protection over the middle, almost picked by McCalla. Pass intended for Scott Cloman, who did not make a catch in the preseason. He was released by the Edmonton Eskimos. That one intended for him, but almost intercepted by Ladolphus McCalla.
Well, take a look to the right of your screen. McCalla breaks on the football so quickly. Watch, he comes off the hip there. That's excellent coverage. Maybe just a fraction late between Kevin Glenn getting it to his wide receiver Cloman. But Cloman and Kamal Peterson are going to have to work awfully hard. Omar Morgan and Ladolphus McCalla are terrific one-on-one corners, and these wide receivers for Winnipeg are going to have their hands full trying to get open tonight.
Well, there's the stars so far. Corey Holmes is back. John Ryan used to play with the Regina Rams before coming to the Canadian Football League. And look out again! Holmes with more room. Corey Holmes down to the 20-yard line. It is all Corey Holmes so far. Here in Regina, a 63-yard return.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, the how-to people. By Rogers Wireless, music phones, music features, live out loud. And by Molson Canadian.
Welcome back to Regina's Taylor Field. 3 minutes into this game, Leif Pedersen, and already Corey Holmes has 144 yards in return. The Riders at the Bomber 20. Nealon Green, first play from scrimmage to the end zone, overthrown. He was looking for Elijah Thurman, who replaces Travis Moore in the Saskatchewan receiving corps.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Travis Moore is what they call a healthy scratch, and he had 72 catches a year ago, so he will not play tonight. But Kenton Keith is back. He didn't join them until 4 games into the season last year. That's a good thing. And Matt Dominguez gets to start the season. He didn't join until halfway through the year. A terrific offensive line. 3 of them have been outstanding linemen in the CFL. A great group on the run game.
They expect Dominguez to have a monster season over the middle. And there he is. Dominguez signed on with the Riders, a long-term contract. Has moved here, lives here, and wants to be a big part of the Rider future. He wants to win the Grey Cup here, he says.
Well, and he's a great target, 6'2", 220, and that's the defense that he will look at tonight. Lamar McGriggs, the veteran in that linebacking core, but a lot of question marks in that secondary. There's a number of veterans, but they just haven't played together, and it takes time to meld that unit.
1st and goal. Kenton Keith, his first carry of the season to the goal line. No hands raised in the air. And so now it will be 2nd and goal, and expect Kenton Keith to have a big year too. We have a marquee matchup with these running backs tonight, and Kenton Keith and Charles Roberts.
Well, again, you know, he was 1,000 yards. He had 1,154 in only 14 games, and that finished him third in the league. Roberts was second. Of course, Davis and Hamilton was first. But this is a running game that will only get better and better.
Nealon Green pushing over. Touchdown, Saskatchewan. Striking quickly in this ball game. 5 minutes in, and with the point after, they'll lead 14-0.
Yeah, this is the worst nightmare for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers because, I mean, it's not a rookie-laden team, but it's had so many changes that you're really not sure what you're going to have as they begin this season. And now a kickoff return touchdown by Holmes, a great punt return that sets up this touchdown by Nealon Green, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers on the road in a very hostile environment are really up against the wall early.
And a team that beat the Riders 3 times last season have won 5 in a row against the Riders, but trail 14-0 early in this opener.
Jane Forster of Saskatoon, you have won a 50-inch Prima Plasma TV thanks to Safeway's touchdown to win. Congratulations, Jane. And if there's another kickoff return in tonight's game, you could win $1 million, so don't leave your set.
Well, Kevin Glenn and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers down early, down quickly by 2 converted touchdowns. Jim Daly and this rebuilding squad, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, last year not making the playoffs. They've fallen on hard times in Winnipeg over the last 3 years. Once again, it's Stokes. And once again, the Riders meet him head on. Sean Gallant with the tackle.
Well, you know, I think for Kevin Glenn, this is a tough spot. Down 14 points. I don't think he can deviate from what they want to do early in the game, and I think it's kind of like what Chris Schultz says. Let's have a little heavy dose of Charles Roberts, and you know, although you're obviously worried about being down by 14, I think they have to just stay with what they're going to do. I don't think he can beat Saskatchewan with his arm totally, and it's got to be Roberts even though they're behind big.
Glenn, the shovel pass up the middle to Roberts, and that's close to a first down. Looks like he might be a yard and a half shy.
Well, Roberts had some great games against Saskatchewan the last 5 times they met, and in fact those have all been wins for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, so pretty safe to say that when he gets 100 yards on the ground, it's a good bet that the Bombers have a terrific chance to win a game. I mean, he also had 53 catches last year, so talk about versatility. He's got the whole package.
Running play here, but he throws 2nd and 2, and there's the first catch made for Scott Cloman as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. First down, Winnipeg.
Cloman's a good target. 6'3", 210, was with Edmonton, and he was waived this year at training camp. Jim Daly said he was better than what we had in camp, so we brought him in. We don't know a lot about him because he just hasn't had enough time, like a number of Blue Bombers that are starting and playing tonight.
McCalla is on Cloman. Glenn shovels again to Roberts. Sidesteps a few tackles and still is not brought down. Takes a shot from Terrell Jereniak. And Charles Roberts as well, Leif Pettersson, when he rushes for over 100 yards or more, the Bombers have success. They are 18-1 when he rushes over the century mark.
Here's Benefield at the top. Now, he does the right thing. He knows the play's coming, but he does it smart. He doesn't want Kevin Glenn to get to the outside, and he has to then rely on Travis Smith, the middle linebacker, number 48, to make that play. But everybody says, oh, well, they beat Benefield again. They didn't beat Benefield. He forced it to the inside and did the right thing.
Second short yardage again, this time the handoff. Roberts. This one will be very close. It depends on the spot. And they will bring the yardsticks out. It looks like he might be a little shy. And it looks like the first 3rd down gamble for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers early in this game. Let's see. Yeah, it looks like 3rd and a football.
Well, there's no decision here. You have to go.
Some of the big bodies coming out now for Jim Daling and the Bombers.
And this is where it's a little tough right now. Matt Sheridan moved to center this year, and this is his first start as a center. You suspect there'll be a quarterback sneak when it's only a matter of inches. And now, you know, it's the exchange, and can Sheridan really get off and get a push off the ball?
Glenn takes it himself over the middle. Kevin Glenn, of course, spent a couple of seasons here in Saskatchewan. Then to Winnipeg last year. Kahari Jones injured. It's kind of funny how everything has turned out. Kahari Jones right now looking for work in the Canadian Football League. Let's see the surge here.
Well, Matt Sheridan, the center, there he is. Watch him, and that's the suspect spot right now, but he actually does a pretty good job. He's got Scott Schultz right on the nose, and he gets just enough push to allow Kevin Glenn to pick up the first down rather easily.
Inside 7 minutes in this first quarter. Fakes the handoff. Glenn goes downfield and almost picked off again. Davin Bush there, this impressive secondary. One of the best in the Canadian Football League, has been together for a while. They know each other very well.
Well, they've been together for 5 years, and they know what each other's doing. It was a good play fake, but then probably a slippery football caused this throw to be totally underthrown, and Davin Bush actually had a pretty good chance to pick it off. But Garrity was open initially, but Kevin Glenn just couldn't get him the football.
Cloman comes out wide right. Throwing down again for the Blue Bombers. Over the middle, overthrown. Intended for Milt Stegall. And so the Bombers will have to kick the football away.
Well, Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, throwing everything at Kevin Glenn early. There's the middle safety, Darnell Edwards. Watch the job that Robert slides over to try to pick him up. He jumps right over top of him, and just enough pressure on the arm that ball becomes a dying duck up there. But if I'm Richie Hall and I've got a veteran group, boy, oh boy, I'm going to do that time and time again. I'm going to give Kevin Glenn a lot of different looks and a lot of things to think about.
Back this time, Ladolfius McCalla. John Ryan. Good leg on John Ryan. Against the wind. Bit of a wobbler, but a line drive shot. Now McCalla goes outside. McCalla steps out of bounds. Boy, the Blue Bombers special teams here, their return team, having all kinds of problems right now with the men in green. McCalla goes out of bounds. The Riders lead 14-0.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by General Motors and all its divisions.
Danny Barrett, 6th season as the Riders head coach, has signed a new deal till 2007. Again, another guy who says is committed to bringing this city its first Grey Cup since 1989. And Nealon Green, a season lost last year because of injury. Here's the pitch. Breaking outside is Keith, up to the 40-yard line and close to a first down. A lot of people talking, Leif Pettersson, about Kenton Keith piling up some yardage that might get near 2,000.
Well, I mean, their expectations are extremely high for Kenton Keith. He averaged 6.1, you see there, a year ago in 24 career games with the Roughriders. It's even better. It's 6.3. So when you have production like that and a lot of it coming on first down, it sure makes it a lot easier for a quarterback to run the offense.
Second down, 2 yards to go. Keith in the backfield. Right up the middle again. First down, Saskatchewan. It was 9 plays into last year when Nealon Green went down with an injury and broke his left leg in the season opener. Remember a year ago in Toronto.
Well, Michael Fletcher hit him there, and I mean, it didn't look like a terrifically tough play, but the leg was broken, and he'd only thrown 5 passes at that stage in the season, and that was it for the year. But he's back, he's healthy, and he's got a great offense to work with. And I think the beauty for Nealon Green, and I talked to Danny Barrett about this yesterday. I said, Danny, you know, like, you've been a great quarterback yourself. What do you say to Nealon Green about how to run this team? And he said, you know what? We know he can make any throw we ask him to. He's got the whole package. But what I say to Nealon every day is be patient. Stay within yourself. And what that means, staying within yourself, is to know that and understand you've got a great defense behind you. You've got super special teams and a terrific running game. So don't force anything, because throughout the course of a game, you're going to get a lot of good opportunities to score and make big plays.
Big numbers in 2003 when he was healthy. Dominguez, high steps, and Matt Dominguez picks up a first down for Saskatchewan. 30-yard gain, his second reception of the season.
And what Saskatchewan is doing so well in this opening quarter is first down production. Again, a penalty, but Matt Dominguez, the quick screen to the wide receiver, gets a couple of blocks and turns a very simple completion into a huge gain. Kenton Keith is rolling, and this offense is functioning just as Danny Barrett pictured it would.
Dominguez, again, like Kenton Keith, coming to the Riders at the right time last year. They were struggling at 4-8. Then peeled off 5 wins in their last 6 games. And of course, we know what happened in the Western Final. And it's been a memory that sure has haunted a certain kicker in Saskatchewan.
Yeah, it's been a long winter for not only the players, but it was a long winter for the fans, because they thought they were going to the Grey Cup. And then, of course, coming back with such a veteran team. In fact, only one rookie has made the roster, and backup defensive back. So expectations are extremely high.
Green over the middle. Elijah Thurman breaks a tackle, fumbles the football. Actually, that was Jason French who made the catch and fumbled it. So that was French who fumbled. And the Blue Bombers get the football back.
That's unfortunate. Jason French has had a terrific preseason. He's really come into his own to be a very dependable receiver. He's to the right of your screen, runs a nice pattern, comes back to the football, and fortunately just could not hang on. Lysak there, but from behind, the strip's made by Tim Carter, and the Bombers really dodge a bullet. Well, if you're Saskatchewan, you're upset you don't get points, but the offense was moving very, very smoothly on that drive.
So Glenn and the Blue Bombers start from their 10. Roberts stuffed by Reggie Hunt.
You know what I like about Reggie Hunt, and I think he did it right there. He makes plays in other people's backfields. And in fact, he lost probably about a half a yard there. Last year in 2004, Reggie Hunt was so active, he had 10 tackles for losses in other people's backfields. That was the most in the league. And this guy is tough.
Tough on the run, tough on the pass. Dual purpose linebacker. Glenn throwing. And once again, incomplete into traffic. Kevin Glenn is also down at his goal line, but gets up. And he is not getting some good looks right now at his receivers.
Well, and his receivers are having a tough time getting open. But, you know, the Saskatchewan secondary understands and plays situational defense so well. 2nd and 10, you know, they're thinking Kevin Glenn, he's not going over the top. He wants to pick up 12 yards and get some momentum. So Eddie Davis was just squatting on Milt Stiegel. Stiegel had no chance to try to get open there. And, you know, at some point, if Saskatchewan secondary is going to continue to do that, Kevin Glenn has to try to go deep and loosen them up somewhat.
Well, now John Ryan in his end zone. 1:44 in the first quarter. Ladolfius McCalla back to return and has it blocked. Blocked by the Riders. Out of bounds. Safety touch. 2 points for Saskatchewan. It's all green here in the first quarter. Big block by Scott Gordon.
CFL, Eskimos and Blue Bombers, Thursday at 8 on TSN.
Big block, Scott Gordon. make it 16-0 Saskatchewan.
Well, I had a feeling that they were going to try to do this. Here comes Scorton right up, but you know what? There's Sean Woods in the up back right there. He's got to make this play. You don't let anybody get to your inside with a right-footed kicker. I mean, goodness gracious. You've got to block him to the outside. If he was a left-footed kicker, that'd be all right, but that's kind of a freebie. Great effort by Gordon, but pretty shabby blocking by Sean Woodson on that. And, you know, Winnipeg's just starting to dig that hole a little deeper.
So the Bombers will have to kick this away with a minute 35 left in the first. Nightmarish start for Winnipeg here in Taylor Field to the 2005 season. There's McCalla back again. Corey Holmes took a kickoff return back already, had a big punt return. McCalla is now handling the duties. And again, slip sliding and stopped by Lamar McGriggs. Let's go down to our sideline reporter, an update on Corey Holmes. Here's Ray Morrison.
Well, Rod, Corey Holmes just passed by me here at the Rider bench, and he has an upset stomach. And, of course, he's done the bulk of the work here for the Saskatchewan Roughriders and scoring one touchdown and helping this team to another one through a big return. So it's an upset stomach. Ivan Goodfriend, the athletic therapist here for the Saskatchewan Roughriders, is currently telling me right now that he's just going to go in, settle down, and perhaps in the second half we might see him come back. But he's just going to go and let his stomach settle a bit.
Have a Tums or two and get back out there.
I would say the upset stomach might be on the other side of the field with the special teams of the Blue Bombers giving up those two big returns early on as they try to settle into this game. Catch made on the far sideline by Karsten Bailey. Newcomer to the Riders. Played in the NFL with Green Bay and Seattle.
You know, it's interesting. I watched some of that Toronto BC game today, and they were saying that the BC Lion receiving core was so big and such great targets. Well, Saskatchewan does not have a receiver under 6'1", and Bailey's 6'1", and Tunkara, when he comes in, 6'2", French 6'1", Dominguez and Elijah Thurman 6'3". I mean, this is a huge group for Nealon Green to find downfield.
Up the middle, plows the durable back, Chris Sarka. 9 years with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Final 25 seconds here in this first quarter.
The way this game's gone, you're going to see Chris Zarka in there a lot more as the second back, the fullback leading for Kenton Keith. Most of the time, Saskatchewan will go to the 5 receiver set and Tunkara in. Corey Grant, a terrific receiver, here's out with a calf muscle. So think about the depth here in Saskatchewan. You've got Travis Moore, their leading receiver from a year ago, who's a healthy scratch. Corey Grant, who's out with a calf muscle. I mean, that's a lot of firepower.
Travis Moore, who played through injury most of last year, but made some big plays. And then, of course, Elijah Thurman made those bigger plays in the playoffs.
I think we must say, too, that Travis Moore has been extremely professional about this.
Absolutely.
And he says, you know what? It's a long season. I'll get my chance to play, and you have to admire that.
Kenton Keith. That looks like it'll be another first down. Maybe a little bit shy.
A terrific block created here. Look at the right guard. Just seals off that hole. Creates a nice cutback lane for Kenton Keith right there. The seal, that's a huge hole. And Andrew Green, a perennial all-star, created that. And this is a fun time for the offensive line. They're up by 16 points. They know you're going to run the ball, on a consistent basis.
Final play of the first quarter. And that is now a first down thanks to Chris Sarka. All Saskatchewan Roughriders. Big kickoff return. Couple of big drives. 16-0 on Wendy's CFL Live. First quarter stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Well, pretty clean first quarter for Saskatchewan. A big kickoff return for a touchdown by Corey Holmes, but very efficient start for the Riders, and the Winnipeg Blue Bombers have a long way to go.
They'll now march against the wind, the Riders will. Green in his pocket. And another reception for number 88, Matt Dominguez.
Rod, I've talked about Saskatchewan's success on first down. Have a look at this. Dave Boyer put this together for me because I said, it has to be a high number. Look at that. on first down, 9.6 yards. I mean, is it not fun to be a quarterback when you're doing that?
Nealon Green, the 4th opening day start for the Riders. And again, he was not a finisher last year. Henry Burris was the quarterback for the Riders late in the season and into the playoffs. It was one of the few times that Kenton Keith was not able to escape the clutches of a Blue Bomber at the line. Rylan Wickman with the tackle.
And they're going to need a lot of those plays. I mean, 16 points is a long way to go for the Bombers here. And Rylan Wickman, a leader on that team. Career tackle leader right now, 274. And when you think about, he's 5th all time rather in career tackles. You think about all the great linebackers they've had. That's not bad.
2nd down and 11 now. Green fires. Catch made by Elijah Thurman. And back down into the red zone for the Riders. 27-yard pickup just like that. Nealon Green finding targets at will.
Yeah, Tunkara in the middle occupies the safety. That creates a lot of room for Thurman to go into, and tough job for Cedric Dickerson to stay with him. But again, it's the scheme. 3 receivers. Tunkara clears out. Thurman gets lots of room. Easy completion.
From the 13, play action. Nealon Green takes off, and Danny Barrett told us yesterday every time he takes off right now he cringes a little bit, remembering last year. But Nealon Green is the man for Danny Barrett and the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Henry Burris is gone. He's in Calgary. It is now Nealon Green's team.
And you say Danny Barrett cringes when he runs, but you know what? I think he still has to run. I mean, you still have to plant that seed with the defense that although Kenton Keith will do most of the running, that Nealon Green, who is a terrific runner, still will. If you don't respect it, he will take off.
2nd and 6. Green deep in the end zone. Threw that one away.
And I mean, that's a good play. Nobody's open. You're 16 points ahead. You're in scoring position. You got McCallum coming in, and that's a good play. Get rid of it. Don't take a chance.
Well, the crowd cheering Paul McCallum on the field. Last time he had a field goal opportunity in a regular season game, a playoff game. You know what happened? Heartbreak.
Well, it's painful to watch that, and you know, Paul's a good guy, and I think he's had all winter to kind of shake it off. And you know, for his first attempt on the season, I'm kind of happy for him that it's coming from the 16-yard line. And keep your head down, buddy, and make it.
It was an 18-yarder in BC Place.
Attaboy.
Nice to get that first one out of the way after the one last year. Big lead continues, 19-0 Saskatchewan.
Tonight's virtual first down line is brought to you by General Motors and all of its divisions.
19-0 Saskatchewan. Season opener, home opener, which has been a Holmes opener early on. A couple of big returns for Corey Holmes after a rain and lightning delay. The Blue Bombers trying to get on the board. Kevin Glenn. It's the 3rd time now he's gone to that shovel pass to Charles Roberts. That one not too effective. Well, golf fans, on Monday, a special treat, a day with Tiger Woods from the beautiful Magna Golf Club in Aurora, Ontario. Tiger, Lee Pedersen, will play with some guys who got some serious cake. And he gets to play with them, and we're going to spend the day with Tiger. We'll talk to him, have an interview. It's at 7 o'clock Eastern. Tiger Woods in Toronto.
I'm very jealous that you're getting to do this. It should be me.
Oh, yeah, okay. Well, a little case of dropsy there from Scott Kloman. And once again, the Blue Bombers will call on John Ryan to kick the football away. It has not been a good start by any stretch for Winnipeg here tonight.
Well, it's tough to make excuses for Jim Daly's team. A lot of new people. It takes time. We know that. But when you dig yourself on the road a hole like that, the way they did in the first few minutes of this football game, it's a pretty difficult task.
What did Danny Barrett say yesterday? The theme for the season, he said, we want to get at it early and often.
Well, we have built a graphic about Saskatchewan's schedule, and I'd like to show you this because this is really important that they get off to a good start, and I'll tell you why.
McCalla from his 25. And for the first time tonight, the Bombers are able to swarm a Saskatchewan returner.
One of the challenges for Saskatchewan is their first 8 games, and it goes through August 11. Only 3 are at home, but of the 5 away games, 4 are Eastern trips. Look, you go to Hamilton, Toronto, Hamilton again, and then Ottawa. So it's really going to be tough. Those 4 games in the East to mid-August, if they get hot weather, those are tough trips. So the good thing for Danny Barrett is if you get off to a quick start and you've got a good winning record, maybe you don't have to work your guys as hard in practice. But if you're struggling and you got to have those long practices, you won't believe the toll it takes on a team. So a good start is imperative for them.
Hand off to Keith, spinning, churning, and wrangled down. Well, you think about the Riders last year, got off to an awful start. And the 3 games against Winnipeg really cost them positioning in the playoffs. This is a team who wants to control its destiny for a chance to get to Vancouver for the Grey Cup. They haven't had a home playoff game here since 1988.
No, and I think they really understood that more than ever after last year. You know, they had to go on the road, and they played a great semifinal, and then, you know, played a pretty good Western final, came up short. But now they understand the total importance of what the home field advantage really means in the playoffs.
Well, had they gotten one of those games against the Blue Bombers last year, they would have finished in 2nd place and would have had a home playoff date.
Yeah, and there's the record there. Those 3 games, as Rod said, really cost them. And, you know, the home playoff date, let's be honest, from the economic side of things, that doesn't hurt either to have one more home game. When you're a community-owned team and you're always doing fundraisers, as Jim Hobson, the new CEO and president, is committed to doing all the time, as they've always done here. But that playoff game is huge.
Keith Stokes.
Come on, Stokes.
Back at his 37-yard line. Paul McCallum will kick against the breeze, which has now settled down. This one a high wobbler. It was 45. Stokes will only get to the 50. That's where Kevin Glenn will go to work again. Only a return of 6 yards. The Bombers have to get something going. They trail 19-0.
CFL on TSN is brought to you by General Motors and all its divisions.
Back in Regina's Taylor Field. Clouds still around the stadium. Apparently rain still in the forecast. Some more rain coming tonight. We hope not. We've had enough already, thank you. These players were drenched as they came out earlier for warm-up. 1st and 10 for Kevin Glenn and the Blue Bombers. Play action to Roberts, and out of the backfield comes Stiegel. Milt Stiegel with his first reception of 2005.
It's a great call by Kevin Glenn. Do the play action, pressure the line of scrimmage where you have the option to run if you want to, and that was a nice play to give the ball to Stiegel quite easily.
Milt Stiegel, all-time receiving yardage, close to Brian Kelly. Alan Pitts, of course, the all-time leader. 14-yard pickup for Stiegel. Glenn backpedals and overthrows his target again. Kevin Glenn back in a place very familiar to him here in Saskatchewan. There's the newcomer, Scott Cloman.
Well, they bring Keith Stokes in for Scott Regenbald, the fullback. Stokes with some terrific speed, mostly a kick returner. But let's see if they can't really spread out the defense of Saskatchewan, cover this whole field, and find a seam.
Kamal Peterson wide left. Stiegel goes up the middle. A flag on the play, movement on the line. Glenn rolling out of trouble into traffic, picked off. Darnell Edwards. Penalty on the play, and once again Kevin Glenn throwing into double coverage.
That was at least double coverage. I mean, that was a ball that should not have been thrown.
Penalty against Saskatchewan, so a reprieve
Offside.
Here for Kevin Glenn.
Saskatchewan 98, 5-yard penalty, 2nd down repeated.
Well, the coverage is just enormous. Darnell Edwards played it perfectly, reading the eyes of the quarterback. But, you know, often that's what happens. You get down by 19 points and you feel like you have to force the football and you make some bad decisions. Luckily for Glenn, they get it back. Pretty meager numbers so far.
Riders.
A lot of those completions have been the shovel passes.
Riders secondary doing a great job here. 2nd and 5. And there's Stiegel, who slips but picks up the first down. By the way, Corey Holmes is back on the bench for the Riders. Kevin Glenn looks like he comes up limping and he's hurt. But we'll go back to the huddle. Let's take a look, Leaf.
Well, one of the things you really worry about on a night like tonight when the field is so soaked and Jackie Mitchell, the linebacker, just falls into the bottom of his leg, but you really worry about slipping and pulling a groin on a night like tonight.
Looks like it might have been the ankle. A rollover up the middle. Scott Regenbald, his first carry of 05 for the Bombers. Former Stampeder.
You know, this becomes a very crucial series for Kevin Glenn in the offense. You know, 19-0 is not insurmountable. I mean, by no stretch is it going to be easy, but you know, as you're halfway into the second quarter now, if you can take a drive, all of a sudden you cut the lead to 12 points. Hey, you're back in this ball game. And you know, when you're on the road and you're against a good defense like this, you got to maximize your chances. This is a crucial drive to try to get a touchdown when you're at the 25.
2nd and 6. Glenn in trouble. Throws it out to Roberts. He's in trouble. And a big loss on 2nd down will bring out the field goal kicking team. And Troy Westwood will try to put the Blue Bombers on the board.
Well, he needed the touchdown. A field goal is not bad, but terrific reaction by the Saskatchewan front 7. Travis Smith, the middle linebacker, will make the play, but I mean, they are relentless in coming after the quarterback.
Troy Westwood, whose comments to Regina fans last year did not endear himself to anyone in Saskatchewan. He is still persona non grata.
Well, you can hear
the
it.
Rider Nation.
Jamie Stoddard saying he can't hear. Come on, Jamie, get down. You're going to just make it worse.
It looks like they might be short a player.
Well, then that's okay.
And now they're going to have to go back another 5 yards. And here comes the missing player. Tom Canada will come in. So that was the smart move as well. They've already had a punt block.
Oh yeah, I take it back, Jamie. That was a good move.
This is a long one with the wind, however. 43.5 yards for Troy Westwood. And it's wide. The Bombers will get on the board. A single point.
43-yard field goal.
Nothing going right tonight for Winnipeg. You're watching Wendy's CFL Live on TSN.
You're watching Wendy's CFL Live on TSN.
Well, more Wendy's CFL Live coming Thursday in Winnipeg. The Blue Bombers against the Edmonton Eskimos, who got win at #1 last night. Earlier tonight, BC Lions knocking off the defending Grey Cup champions, a rematch in Toronto. So the Lions 1-0, the Eskimos 1-0. The Riders try to go 1-0. Elon Green, that one, a hopper over to Karsten Bailey. Used to play at Auburn. Karsten Bailey with a connection to Auburn. His quarterback in Auburn is actually a member of the Toronto Blue Jays right now. Gabe Gross.
Where do you come up with this stuff?
Well,
you're amazing.
Also happen to call the Blue Jay game, so
good for you.
Not too many quarterbacks have made it in baseball. Gabe Gross trying to do that. Green scrambling. Green in trouble. Elon Green is hammered. And a little extra as well. There are no flags, but the crowd here wanted some roughing.
Well, Joe Fleming made the play, and the school was out on that. Tom Canada was coming hard, and well, you're going to hear some good pounding here.
Well, one of the things that has gone right for Winnipeg over the last few months is that trade to Calgary for Kahari Jones. The only thing right now that Calgary got out of that was a 4th-round pick.
Well, and Winnipeg got 3 starters: Joe Fleming, Wes Lysak, and Scott Reginbald, the fullback.
Keith Stokes nowhere to go so far here tonight, but now some room. Look out. Stokes past McCallum. Stokes to the end zone. How about that? A 70-yard return, and Winnipeg has its first major, and we've had 2 kick returns for a touchdown. One on this punt, and earlier Corey Holmes on the opening kickoff.
The punt returner from a year ago, leader in the CFL, Keith Stokes. What a terrific effort right here, because it looks like he doesn't have a lot of room, but it's that acceleration. You find a gap. All the great ones have that extra gear that they can put it into, and Keith Stokes did it. He got his team a much-needed touchdown at a crucial stage in the game. It was a terrific play.
One thing we've noticed on these returns so far tonight, once you do get some room, you could break it because the footing is not good here tonight. You saw Paul McCallum. He had no chance. Looked back to see if there was a flag on the play. There was no flag.
And that's a great point. Guys cannot change directions quickly tonight.
19-8's the score now. Well, Keith Stokes has done that a lot in his career in Canada. Did it a lot last year for the Blue Bombers. He was named the CFL top special teams player. He had 5 touchdowns, 4 on punt returns last year.
Well, you can see the impact of special teams tonight in this first half with Corey Holmes kickoff return for a TD, Keith Stokes with a punt return for a TD, and boy, I could just hear Bob Obilovich right now. You gotta concentrate on those special teams.
That's right.
I can hear Obi right now. And what a great return by Stokes, though. And for a team that's struggling, they really needed a boost like this. They're back in the ball game. They're 19-8, and they really need to try to take advantage of that. And that would be having a good, solid series again on defense like they did on the last series.
The way it's going, we might start to see some of the kickers, when they're punting, angle it out of bounds. There's Holmes, who electrified this crowd right from the outset early in this ball game, took the opening kickoff back, and then later had another big return that led to a touchdown by Nealon Green. Corey Holmes, also an excellent special teams player.
Well, Rob, we'll see how Saskatchewan reacts to this. They've had 0 adversity in this game so far. It's been all their own way. All of a sudden, a little blip, punt return for a touchdown. Let's see what Nealon Green is able to come up with and answer that.
His last 3 attempts have gone incomplete. He was 6 for 7. This one off the ground.
He's had great difficulty throwing that. He's completed 1 to Dominguez, and now he's missed 2 in a row terribly to Karsten Bailey to try to set up that wide receiver screen. Really no pressure on him here. It's just a poor throw, and I can only imagine for the quarterbacks tonight, though, terrific difficulty with the field being as wet as it is, that with that exchange from center, the ball is picking up enough moisture that they're having trouble.
Saskatchewan with an outstanding offensive line. Award winners, all-stars, offer a lot of protection. Flag down, rush was on, pass was high. Let's see what Dave Ewell, our referee here tonight, comes up with. And it's against the Riders. So Paul McCallum will come up and boot this ball away. And you can bet that he doesn't want to put it into the clutches too close to Keith Stokes this time.
3rd down.
Well, and that's, of course, what Danny Barrett did not obviously want to have happen. 2 tough defensive series in a row for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. A punt return touchdown by that man right there, Keith Stokes, and all of a sudden old Mo is making a visit to this stadium here in Saskatchewan tonight, because Saskatchewan is losing it and Winnipeg's getting some of it back.
McCallum, the Bombers got a piece of it, and Winnipeg will get good field position up to the 43-yard line of Saskatchewan as McCallum kind of waited there. The Bombers had the rush on, and now Winnipeg with momentum on their side.
Well, Paul McCallum really takes a calculated risk here, and Gavin Walls, 98, makes a heck of a play. You're going to see right down at the end of the line. Watch this, McCallum, but watch McCallum. He stutter steps. He thinks there's no rush. I'm going to let my guys get downfield. He waits, and, you know, he made a miscalculation there because Walls got a good piece of it.
Gavin Walls, first game in Canada. Had never even heard of Regina before tonight's game.
You know what? The officials missed it, too, because it hit a Saskatchewan player earlier, and that obviously right away is dead ball, no yards.
So they have a powwow here.
I don't know if we have it, but it did hit a
No
Saskatchewan.
yards interference. Saskatchewan number 3. 15-yard penalty. First down.
So even more field position here for the Blue Bombers.
Watch Gordon right there. It hits him right in the back of the foot right there. And that could have been dead ball right away.
So Winnipeg will get it now from the 30. Their best field position. Earlier on, they had it down in this range and were forced to kick a field goal. Charles Roberts meets a green wall. Only 3 yards rushing tonight, Leif Pettersson, for number 1, Blink Roberts.
Well, it's a tough front seven to get a lot of rushing yards against. I know that's the focus for this offense. They want Roberts to touch the football. But, I mean, this is a darn good veteran group up front to try to run against. Jackie Mitchell came a long way to make that play.
Terrell Jeriniak, late season pickup last year for the Riders. Glenn rolls right, will have to let it go. He does, and it's picked off. McCallum again. Momentum swings back to the green. Inside 3 minutes before halftime, another Winnipeg turnover.
CFL Friday Night Football. Canada Day doubleheader. Alouettes at Renegades. Followed by Argonauts at Stampeders. Friday starting at 6 on TSN.
Tonight's virtual first down line is brought to you by General Motors and all of its divisions.
Well, Kevin Glenn just shaking his head on the sideline. No one to throw to there except a green uniform.
Well, he had Kamau Peterson open early, but Jackie Mitchell slid underneath it, so he throws over the top of it, and really pretty easy interception for McCallum. You know, Rod, this is where I think at this stage you do the rollout, you really don't have anybody. Kevin Glenn is going to have to try to pick up some yards with his own feet, try to help the team that way.
And he can run. He can take off with the football. Kenton Keith brought down. Tom Canada, Joe Fleming there. Blue Bombers, interesting to note, with Kevin Glenn as their starter, have a lot of quarterbacks. Spurgeon Wynn is not with the team right now. The former Lion, who is apparently hurt. T. Martin, the former Tennessee Volunteer, and Russ Mickna, who has impressed, a recent cut by the St. Louis Rams in preseason. Glenn, however, the starter. Ineffective offense for Winnipeg tonight, though. Here's Holmes again. Corey Holmes. Little stutter step. Picks up 11 yards.
Smart read by Nealon Green, too. I mean, sometimes, and this is the whole philosophy, do not force the football downfield. They back off, dump it off to your back. Look at the move right here by Corey Holmes, and Sean Woodson had no chance. It's what you talked about, Rod. These guys are, especially on defense and special teams tackling, are having great difficulty changing directions at high speed.
No doubt Saskatchewan has dominated. Keith, Wes Lysak, and Lamar McGriggs with the tackle and the loss for Keith of -1.
Boy, McGriggs, you think doesn't have some speed? He went one-on-one with Keith to the outside, brought him down from behind. No way he was going to get around McGriggs on that corner. Tough guy. Been with a few teams. He wore out his welcome in a few spots, but has seemed to have found a home here in Winnipeg.
Blue Bombers hoping to make a stop here, get one more crack before halftime. 2nd and 11. Green lets it fly. Holmes again. And near another first down. Will be very close. And he might have had it. They will bring the yardsticks out, it looks like.
Corey Holmes, a great job. He's just right out here. Watch how he comes in here and then pivots back to the outside. Tough play for Ryland Wickman, the middle linebacker. He just can't stay with him on this slick field, and a nice pattern by Holmes, and he's really taken over on this drive.
Looks like it is a first down, Saskatchewan. Their 10th of the game with 1:40 to go.
Yeah, this is kind of a message drive too. You know, Winnipeg's had a couple of solid defensive series. Now all of a sudden there's a sense of urgency for Saskatchewan that they haven't had in the entire first half, and a bit of a message series for them. They want to take control of this game back.
Corey Holmes with over 175 all-purpose yards so far. Doing it on the returns. This time out of the backfield. Good thing he was able to hang on to that football, because that would have been live, it looked like. Thrown backwards. And a flag on the play.
Well, Tom Canada got a little excited with Jeremy O'Day, the center, and I think Tom Canada is going to get a penalty for a little extracurricular, when I'm not sure it was needed.
Tom Canada's 2nd season with Winnipeg.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, dead ball foul, Winnipeg 44. 15-yard penalty, first down.
15-yard penalty. The Bombers held Holmes. It was a 3-yard loss originally. Here's the penalty.
Well, there's Canada there, and I don't know what precipitated the reason to do that. It's not like O'Day was running over walls or anything. I mean, guys, this isn't a pillow fight out there, you know.
1:20 to go before halftime. Jim Daly and the Bombers, team that is under reconstruction in the offseason, had an extreme makeover, really. Out of the backfield again. Keith stopped by Ryland Wickman. And Stanford Samuels.
Well, here's where Nealon has to manage the clock. 1:14 to go. He's got 2nd and long. He's got a nice drive going. He's got to just be aware of trying to pick up a first down, manage the clock, try to get some points.
Riders have dominated this first half. Blue Bombers looked like they were going to get back in it thanks to Keith Stokes. Costly turnover, however, on the interception. 5 receivers set. Green takes off. Nealon Green with some blocking too. I'll tell you one thing, it's a lot easier to slide tonight. As he splashes his way down to the 43, and they will hurry up their offense here.
And these decisions have to be made so quickly by a quarterback, and this was the absolute right one by Nealon Green. He didn't see anything quickly. He wanted to get it to Dominguez quickly, couldn't. He said, I'm going to run with it. That was a smart decision. Now he's in the hurry up, nice flow.
Team that's known for the rush can also do this, though. Another reception tonight for Matt Dominguez. Only a couple of yards.
You know, I look at Nealon Green almost like a Tracy Ham, the longer that Tracy Ham went in his career. You know, he was a terrific rusher. He had 1,000-yard seasons, but what he did, the older he got, he just ran when he needed to, and he ran smart and effective. And that's what I see going to happen this year for Nealon Green.
Nealon Green, who used to wear that kind of space helmet with the mirrored visor, no longer. Nice catch! Jason French hauls it in for another Saskatchewan first down.
And that's where you really make your quarterback look good, because again, I think the ball was slippery. It wasn't a well-thrown football, but French climbed the ladder and makes a terrific play, keeps this drive going, picks up a first down, and well, you know, on the huddle, Nealon Green saying, way to bail me out, because that was not a good throw. That was just a great catch.
23 seconds left in the half.
Oh, that was super.
Boy, getting his foot down like that. Trying to find the scoreboard again. Over the middle for 5 yards. And a timeout. Nealon Green asks for one.
Well, he's got 18 seconds. I believe that's 3 plays worth for Danny Barrett's team.
So they'll talk about it. And there'll be a lot of talking going on in the next couple of days in the NBA. Of course, we just saw champions crowned, San Antonio, and now the NBA draft will go on Tuesday, 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 Pacific time. The Toronto Raptors with a top 10 pick. In fact, 2 picks in the first round. We have it for you on TSN. So Nealon Green getting the word from Danny Barrett. And now what can he construct with 18 seconds to go? A first half where Green has dissected the Blue Bombers with the run and the pass.
Well, in this situation, I mean, you're in field goal range. Maybe you just start to not take a shot at the end zone.
Canton Keith goes down, and so Paul McCallum steps on the field and will try to make it 2 for 2 on his season. Boy, what Paul McCallum had to go through personally around here too, though. A guy who was a big part of this community, and then some no-brainers go out and vandalize his home, and there were threats made against his family. You're right, he did handle it under a lot of adversity. That could shatter a guy, could crush someone's spirit.
No, he's come back. He's done a nice job, and you know, I don't wish bad against anybody. I hope he has a great year.
Well, so far in 05, he's perfect. The Riders were near perfect in that first half. 22-8, Saskatchewan on Wendy's CFL Live.
Touchdown! Canton Keith! Look at this! Here goes again! Corey home. Dominguez! Inside, he's good! Fire it up. It's fun to watch, baby.
The Riders have been fun to watch tonight. Hi, everybody. Dave Randorf, Jock Climbey, Matt Dunnigan, Chris Schultz. It's 22-8 at the half. The 3 teams out of the West that made the playoffs last year, BC, Edmonton, and Saskatchewan. BC and the Eskimos already have wins here in week 1, and Saskatchewan is 1 half away from keeping pace with them, and it looked like they were just going to run away with this thing until Winnipeg kind of turned the tide a little bit.
Yeah, Dave, you know, the party was delayed a half an hour, and Saskatchewan fans had to wait just a little bit before they saw the Riders start out hot with special teams, offensive play, and defense. It was special teams early, but hey, when you're able to control the line of scrimmage with the offensive linemen, you got O'Day and Green. Open up hole for Kenton Keith here. When you're able to run the football early against the Winnipeg football team like this, then it's going to open up opportunities for your passing game. And Nealon Green is happy to see his offensive line giving him protection and opening up the holes, and he's able to deliver. Under pressure there, nice and smooth delivery. Under pressure there, nice delivery. Great pocket, plenty of time, delivers again. So when the offensive line is running and controlling the offensive line of scrimmage, Nealon Green is directing traffic. I'm telling you, Schultze, it's an opportunity where these guys are just, you know what it's like up there, right? And when you're on a roll, it helps your quarterback out huge. And Jock, I'm telling you, it was all Nealon and the Riders early.
Yeah, it certainly was, huh?
Well, the first thing I noticed was the fact that this game was delayed by 30 minutes of the opening, and I thought it had an effect on the game because here's the opening kickoff of the game. Saskatchewan returns it. Now, you tell me Winnipeg is ready to play football. Now, does it have an effect? Yes, because football is all about raising your emotions at the apex at a certain moment before the game. And it really hurt Kevin Glenn because Kevin Glenn is auditioning to maintain his starting position at quarterback. He starts this football game having to play from a deficit. And having to play from a deficit from the quarterback position is 10 times harder than having to play from a lead. So you haven't seen the best of Kevin Glenn. I wouldn't be surprised at all, Jock, if you did see T. Martin.
I'd be
happy to see that. I want to see this kid everyone's talking about, T. Martin. You know, and Winnipeg's not out of this football game. They're close, and I think they can actually get back into this football game if they start using a little more misdirection. Take the aggressiveness of the Saskatchewan Roughriders and use it against them. And I'll show you a play where they did that earlier on. Here you're going to see one-on-one with Stiegel and Davin Bush. Now, you're going to see Stiegel here waggle down like it's going to be a run play, and you're going to see play action, and he's going to leak out into the flat. Davin Bush, who's right here he is. He's biting on this. He's looking into the backfield, and now you're going to see Stiegel out here in the flat, and it's a nice, easy pitch and catch. And this is what you have to do against a defense that's got speed and has got aggressiveness. You got to use those things against them, David.
Keith Stokes was the Special Teams Player of the Year, and that's why this game is close. I agree. Winnipeg's just a couple of plays from getting right back into the ball game, but it was the big Special Teams play, the first play of the game. Corey Holmes, 81 yards on the opening kickoff. Set the tone for the Riders' home opener. More right after this.
Live at the half, brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right.
Earlier tonight in Toronto, a Grey Cup rematch. At the Rogers Centre, the Argonauts trailed 18-6 at the half, but Damon Allen got things going in the second half. Look at that grab there by R.J. Soward. It was a game again. BC really didn't mount any kind of offense in the second half until right here. Antonio Warren punched it in. They added a two-point convert, and BC turns the score around. Toronto won 27-19 in the Grey Cup, and BC wins that one 27-20. Tonight, good game in Toronto.
Yeah, I think there's a little revenge factor there for the Lions. I mean, they're thinking about that. You know, I was thinking about that when I was watching this football game, guys. You know, I was talking to Danny Machocha yesterday, and he felt that the year after the Edmonton Eskimos won the Grey Cup, that they had, as he put it, their bellies full. That they were a bit satisfied with themselves and didn't have that hunger. Now, I don't think I saw that from the Argos. I don't think that's what's going on with that football team. I think they're still hungry, but BC Lions were just a better football team tonight.
Well, I think that's really hard to define. I mean, sometimes you think you're playing hard, but then when you watch the film, you're like, man, I'm not playing as hard as I could have been. It puts Toronto in an awkward situation because next week they have to go to Calgary. Calgary is the biggest unknown in the Canadian Football League. They have had the most time to prepare. They've probably made the most in terms of dramatic free agent movements. So this will be, the next game for the Argonauts, a tough one to win in Calgary.
Schulte, have you ever not played as hard as you can?
I have played as hard as I can, but then sometimes I've looked at the film and I said I could have played harder.
Well, you could have played better.
Yeah,
but you
harder.
never could play harder.
Yes, you can. I disagree. I think the second effort,
well,
you don't notice second effort.
Those two teams are going at it tonight. Man, the first game of the season, they executed extremely well. And, you know, you thought that Dave Dickinson wasn't on his game. He was 78% completion percentage tonight, 22 of 28 against a hard-nosed, stingy defense. And, you know, that was just a heck of a football game out of the gate.
And I was just thinking, too, you asked Dave Dickinson if he thinks the Argos were, at least their defense was playing hard. He took a beating tonight, as he often does.
He got hit.
Yeah, and he dusted himself off every time and got right back up and was full value. And those two teams will meet again in Week 4 out in Vancouver, and we're looking forward to that matchup because it was a good game tonight. What are we going to see in the second half in Regina? First two possessions for Saskatchewan, and they scored. We show you the Holmes touchdown. Here's Nealon Green, making it 16-0 at the time. They're up 22-8 now. Here is the Boston Pizza CFL poll question we asked you prior to the kickoff. Who do you think is the top running back in the CFL right now? Good list right there. And Kenton Keith edges out Troy Davis of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Charles Roberts and Keith in the game tonight, but it's Keith that gets the nod in the vote. The halftime number is brought to you by Molson Canadian. Jock is going to tell us about them.
Well, Dave, it's a pretty simple game. You know, big number, A4 sure all right, big number, little number, little number. And here's a number that really concerns the Winnipeg Blue Bombers right there, 9 yards rushing, not good enough.
Danny Barrett happy with the lead at the half. I'm sure he spoke with our Ray Morrison.
Well, I got to be honest, Andy, this team has never been known for special teams, but Corey Holmes, what a start.
Well, I told him prior to the opening kickoff, it'd be nice to start the year with a big touchdown, and the guys responded. Corey hadn't touched the ball all preseason. On return, he was ready.
And Winnipeg at times is gaining a little bit of momentum. I guess it's going to be key in the third quarter to make sure they don't get too much momentum.
Well, you got to expect for them with the personnel and the talent that they have to make a push and everything. But we weathered the storm. It was nice to be able to finish the first half off with 3 points, especially for Paul. And now, you know, third quarter is going to be the key. We come out the way we started the game, everything will be okay.
Good stuff. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Corey Holmes did have the big play to open up the game, but Keith Stokes had a good response for the Bombers, guys, with his punt return touchdown.
First of all, Keith Stokes, outside of Charles Roberts, he is the most important player on that Winnipeg football team. Touchdown, Keith Stokes.
Bad boy, Josie. 2 touchdowns, the difference in this game. Really, the difference, Corey Holmes and his electrifying start. Let's go down to Ray Morrison with Coach Daly of Winnipeg.
Jim, let's talk about that first half. They got off to a great start on special teams. The cover team's unable to cover Corey Holmes on not 1 but 2 occasions early.
Well, no, the long returns for Holmes were, great starts for them and really poor starts for us. And then once we settled down, I think we played a lot better. But, it puts us in a hole right away. We have a very, very strong comeback to make in the second half, and we have to come out from the get-go and take a run at it.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, Ray.
Well, the get-go for Saskatchewan was Holmes, initiated by him. 2 big returns, the kickoff return, the punt return that set up a touchdown by Nealon Green. Jim Daly, of course, was a head coach here in Saskatchewan, took the Riders to the Grey Cup game back in 1997. So we were standing talking with him tonight, and a lot of people came over and said hi and hello and wished him luck. But tonight he's in enemy territory with the Blue Bombers, and they trail by 14.
Well, he's a very likable guy, and he had a lot of friends when he was here in Saskatchewan, and he's right. He's got to take a run at it, and it's right here. We'll see who starts at quarterback. That should be interesting, too.
Keith Stokes going to take a run at it. Stokes bursting outside, but will run out of running room. Sliding out of bounds. 22-yard return for Keith Stokes, who also took 1 back, a punt in that first half.
Well, I'll tell you, look at the job that both quarterbacks did in the first half, and Nealon Green pretty clean, 12 of 18, some nice yardage. And the trouble for Kevin Glenn is all his completions, about 4 of them were that little shovel pass. So really going downfield, he was like 4 of 16. So he's either got to improve that or find a way to get it to Milt Stiegel, and McGarity still, I don't believe, has a catch.
Glenn ducking and throwing. There's McGarity, who is rocked. Saskatchewan says it has the football. The officials are talking.
They've got it.
They've got it. Well, they're talking some more. One official has made a signal. And there's the signal.
Yeah,
it's Saskatchewan football. Stolen by Jackie Mitchell.
Well, let's see how this occurs. McGarity makes the juggling catch, and then Davin Bush comes in and wraps up. And, and we're going to evolve to instant replay in this league at some point in time, but there's no question that would definitely be a challenge. Did he have possession?
Was on the table, of course. Replay was experimented with in the preseason. Green to Holmes. A lot of Bombers there. Tom Canada brings him down. So another turnover. That time not Kevin Glenn's fault, however, as McGarity lost the ball.
Well, let's have one more look at it, and you be the judge. He juggled it.
Did he have possession?
I'm not so sure he ever did.
I don't think so.
One more time, and doesn't have it. Kind of has it there, and never really does have it. No, I think that's an incomplete ball. So when instant replay does arrive, the flag would go out, and we'd find out what the officials thought.
Second down. And unable to catch up with it is Ibrahim Tunkara.
So the turnover doesn't hurt the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Saskatchewan not able to take advantage of that. Second turnover of the night for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. McCallum with the other interception, and the fumble recovery now by Jackie Mitchell.
So Paul McCallum will go back to his 40-yard line. Once again, Keith Stokes will go to his 15.
Well, it's interesting. McCallum still kicking into what wind there is, but I mean, it is really calmed down here now, and the wind really no factor at all as it was in the first half.
Angles it out of bounds to the corner. Stokes got it and then lost yardage. And a flag on the play back near Paul McCallum. And did they get the kicker?
Well, John Oosterhuis, number 77, absolutely flattened the kicker. And, you know, they're saying that Paul McCallum came across the line of scrimmage in his fair game. So now, did he come across?
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, dead ball foul, Winnipeg 77, half the distance to the goal line, first down.
That's rather humorous, actually.
You see McCallum giving it to him, but he's backpedaling all the time.
So McCallum leveled, but the ball goes back even further to the Winnipeg 5. They'll have to march a long way here, and their offense has not been marching. Charles Roberts finds a hole out near the 9. CFL's rushing leader 2 years ago, 3-time All-Star Charles Roberts. Paul McCallum having a few chuckles on the sideline. McCallum and Oosterhuis. 2nd and 6. Glenn loses it near the goal line. It is brought down. The ball is loose. A helmet is off. And who has it? If Saskatchewan has it, it's a touchdown. No, they have it. Winnipeg has it, so it's a safety touch for Saskatchewan. Wow. 24-8. Kevin Glenn lost the football. Bombers got it back and give up another 2 points. Terrell Jariniak played 3 games last year for the Riders, late season from Missouri, and this is what he did to Kevin Glenn after the snap from Matt Sheridan was high.
Well, that's a pretty good hit right here, and here's where the ball comes loose. The Bombers recover it and give up a safety, but Terrell Jariniak, what an impact he made late in the year. Played 3 games. There he is, 3 games, had 7 sacks, and maybe if there's not a big play here, we'll come back to him one more time.
Piling up the yardage, Corey Holmes.
You look at Rod to finish that story on Terrell Jariniak. Week 16 he had 1 sack. Week 17 he had 3. Week 18 he had another 3. So 7 sacks, 3 games, and also took it to another level in the playoffs where he was voted Lineman of the Week after the Western Final. He was a thorn in the side of the BC Lions that entire game, although in a losing effort. What an addition he has been to an even solid front 4 to begin with.
Green over the middle again. The catch made by Elijah Thurman. That's his 2nd catch of the night. Again, the replacement in the starting lineup for Travis Moore, who is a healthy scratch tonight. Hard to believe Travis Moore, one of the great CFL receivers, 5 1,000-yard plus seasons, and he's watching tonight.
Well, Danny Barrett simply said, I was going to begin the season the way we finished, and they finished in the Western Final with Thurman starting, and he gets to start this year. But make no mistake, you will see Travis Moore throughout the course of this season.
Keith brought down, and a flag, and they were up near his head, up near his face mask. Tom Canada in on the tackle again.
A lot of mistakes by the Bombers tonight. A couple of penalties for
Major
Canada
foul,
in this second
face
half.
mask, 15-yard penalty, Winnipeg 44, first down.
Well, you know, Canada has a roughing penalty, now a face masking penalty. Oosterhuis with a roughing penalty. 45 yards, 3 plays in the second half here, and tough to win on the road when that happens. You look at Ottawa the other night at Commonwealth Stadium. I think halfway through the third quarter, they'd had 13 penalties already. You cannot come into the other person's house and expect to win football games when you make mental mistakes like that.
Riders have scored 2 touchdowns, had 2 safeties, and 2 field goals from Paul McCallum. Delayed play there. The handoff as Keith bursts inside for a few more yards.
Well, Keith's been trying to break loose tonight. I mean, he hasn't had a big night at all. The rushing statistics not very large in his favor. I mean, they haven't needed it. They've had great special teams play that have set up so much of their offense. But there are the numbers. 12 carries, only slightly under 3 yards per carry, not nearly close to his career average of 6.3, but give some credit to the Winnipeg front group, and that is a good front four that Saskatchewan's playing against.
Charles Roberts on the other side of the ball, 4 carries for 6 yards. Green carries, flag on the play in the Saskatchewan backfield. Might be a holding call, we'll see. Green has words with a former Rider, Omar Evans. Played here for a couple of seasons.
Holding. Saskatchewan 68. 10-yard penalty.
That's All-Star Andrew Green. We talked about the All-Stars in this line that's been together. Fred Childress is with the Riders as well, the most outstanding lineman in '98.
There's Green right there. Watch the move on Doug Brown. Doug Brown's going to make the play, and Andrew Green just grabs him. That's an excellent call.
There they are. You want to win championships, you want to win games, you want continuity on your O-line, and they have it here.
Do.
2nd and 17. Dominguez is pulled down. For a moment, he had a good couple of yards on William Fields. Matt Dominguez will be 27 years old on Monday. So the interference call will push the ball even further into Winnipeg territory, into the red zone.
And that's a good matchup in Saskatchewan's favor. Dominguez 6'2", Fields 5'8".
Winnipeg number 2.
You see how Fields had to climb the ladder to try to make that play, and you know right away that that's going to create enough contact to draw a flag, but it's the height differential, I think, that works in such a great favor for Dominguez at 6'2" and Fields at 5'8". I'm not surprised that they don't go over the top against him.
Into the red zone again, Saskatchewan threatening. Holmes, what a night for this guy. Looks like another first down. We talked about Kenton Keith so much before this game.
Yeah.
It has been Corey Holmes' night tonight.
Well, you know, he had 635 yards rushing last year, mainly because he started the season before Kenton Keith returned to the team. And, you know, I mean, he is not only a terrific receiver, he plays a lot of slot back in this scheme of things. He gets to run the football occasionally. Punt return, kickoff return. Talk about an MVP kind of night.
Well, they got twins, really, in Corey Holmes and Kenton Keith, as Keith comes back into the ball game for Holmes. But what an option for them. 2 guys who are equally dangerous. Holmes perhaps more so catching the football.
No question about it. And again, just the depth that they've been able to put together in Saskatchewan.
Keith this time. Down to the 4-yard line. They Keith you one way and they Holmes you the other.
But talk about depth, and Roughriders with a nice drive being put to get together. You know, Travis Moore, healthy scratch. You got Matt O'Meara, an offensive lineman who was their pick in the first round, 3rd overall from McMaster. He was responsible for opening all those holes for Jesse Lumsden a year ago. He is a healthy scratch, but you know, he's going to be a good offensive lineman that will fit in nicely here. So Roy Shivers and this entire staff, they put together a great starting team and great depth.
Plowing to the goal line, Zarka does not get there, but another flag in the backfield. You mentioned O'Meara. O'Meara was one of the reasons they had to protect him, that they put Fred Childress on waivers. But it was kind of a deal that they worked out with Childress. He got a couple of phone calls, but Fred Childress, the Big Chill, decided to stay in Regina. 38-year-old, most outstanding lineman back in 1998. And they have a few award winners on that O-line. including Gene Mikowski,
Holding.
who won last year.
Saskatchewan 68. 10-yard penalty.
There's a lot of protection. Last year, Mikowski helping out Henry Burris, of course. Andrew Green up there.
Yeah, it was a calculated move. They, at his age, they didn't feel like anybody would pick him up off waivers, and probably he wouldn't have reported anyway. So I think it was a very smart move, and they protect the young player that's going to be with them for many, many seasons to come.
So the Bombers with the Riders back. 2nd and goal from the 15. Goal line touchdown, Elijah Thurman. Elon Green is looking very sharp in his 2005 debut.
Well, again, they used this play earlier, and Tunkara will come and clear out, hold the safety, and that gives a lot of room inside for Thurman. That's where they're looking. See, clear out in the middle. Now it's just one-on-one with a lot of room into the middle. No safety help when your third receiver clears out for you. Well designed. They completed it earlier in the game, and now they complete it for a touchdown. Nice looking offense tonight for Saskatchewan.
Extra point is good. 31-8 is the score. A good night for the Green in Saskatchewan. Since we are out in the West, a reminder that the West Wing continues tomorrow, 8 o'clock Eastern, 7 Central on CTV. And in the West, in Regina tonight, the Saskatchewan Roughriders have their crowd in the party mood. It started late, a half an hour late, but then it got going quickly in this ball game. Winnipeg tries to answer. Still lots of time left. Keith Stokes. Stokes finds a seam and takes it up to the 50-yard line. And it looks like the Blue Bombers are going to make, no, they're not going to make a quarterbacking change. It looked like T. Martin was coming in. Kevin Glenn puts the helmet on. And Glenn and the Blue Bombers down by 23 points, Leaf.
Well, tough spot for Kevin Glenn. I think, what you have to try to do, 31-8, is just run your offense and see if you can just start to execute it better and just try to build with each series.
Good rush and a good toss over the middle and a big first down. Winnipeg needs anything right now. Kamal Peterson with the reception. Peterson trying to rebound from really an off year for him last year. The yards you see, the touchdowns you see, but he dropped a lot of footballs in 04. Bombers spread it out again. Looking for Stiegel. Has him. Stiegel with a nice grab. Down to the 6. Milt Stiegel has been quiet here tonight. 35-yard pickup.
Well, they run Scott Cloman, the wide receiver, on and out. That holds the corner, so there's lots of room to the corner for Milt Stiegel. He gets in behind Eddie Davis. Eddie Davis, a pretty good defensive back, and of course there's no way that Darnell Edwards, the safety, can come over. That's just a pretty typical patented Milt Stiegel kind of pass pattern where he has lots of room to run away from the defensive back.
1st and 10 from the 11. Play action. Glenn to Stiegel again. Touchdown Winnipeg.
Nice play fake by Glenn. Good call.
So back-to-back Milt Stiegel.
And that's a good call by Glenn. I love the bootleg. It fooled a lot of Saskatchewan defenders, so there was no pressure on Glenn. And of course, for a quarterback that hasn't had a heck of a lot of playing time, I love the option of good sight lines downfield and either being able to run or pick out an open receiver as he did with Stiegel.
4-time All-Star. First touchdown. The Bombers respond.
And again, the good thing is, I mean, I don't think Winnipeg's going to win this football game, but this is a chance under live conditions to just try to get better and better and better. And that's what Milt Stegall and Kevin Glenn have to try to do.
The Cleveland Grand Prix tomorrow on TSN.
I have from the notes. Welcome back to Taylor Field. Milt Stegall. Well, he climbs the ladder. All-time receiving yardage in the CFL. Alan Pitts, #1. Darren Flutie. Stegall, the 35-year-old, former outstanding player in the Canadian Football League. 113th career touchdown. An important one here in Game 1 of the 2005 season. Bombers now down by 16. Back at his 5-yard line, the guy who kick-started this game, Corey Holmes. He's been outstanding tonight.
Oh, he really has. And boy, what a reason why he was the all-purpose yardage leader last year. You see it all tonight. He's caught the football. He's run when he's been asked to replace Kenton Keith. And, of course, punt and kickoff returns. He's been absolutely outstanding. And here's another one.
Huge night for number 19 of the Riders. 5:19 to go. Third quarter. Keith gets the handoff, goes left. Looked like he was going to be stopped at the line. Picked up 9 yards.
Well, you know, you talk about the offensive line of Saskatchewan, and really this shows a great block by Mikowski, the right tackle. Watch how he pulls all the way across. He doesn't give up. He seals. But watch how patient Kenton Keith is to let this play develop. Now, he's thinking cut back. Nuh-uh. I got a good seal on the corner by Mikowski. I can get to the outside. Tremendous patience by Keith, but outstanding athletic ability by his offensive lineman, Mikowski.
Elon Green is rocked by Ryland Wickman, but he'll get the first down, depending on the spot. And some words from Green and Wickman.
But Rod, going back to Gene Mikowski just for a sec, I just love to see those big horses coming around the line. I mean, you know, he's the backside tackle coming and pulling all the way around, and not an easy task for an offensive tackle at 302 pounds, but Gene Mikowski, who was the offensive lineman of the CFL a year ago, he just showed what a terrific player he is. 11 years. I remember him from the University of Saskatchewan, doing him in Vanier Cups. He was a terrific college player and has had an outstanding CFL pro career.
There they are, the big line. Again, not many changes, if any, from last year's Western Final. Of course, Elon Green was not at quarterback. Henry Burris was. He's now a Stampeder. Plowing up the middle, a loose football. Winnipeg says that they have it. Let's see what the officials say. Everyone's scrumming down below. Elon Green, look at him in there. And it's Saskatchewan football.
Tough to see when Keith does cough the football up here, but oh, there it pops loose. I think he actually gets it back himself.
3.5 to go in the third quarter. Second down and 6. Green fires. Catch made by Dominguez for another first down. Good start to 05 for him, too.
Yeah, and William Fields had great position. I mean, this is just a heck of an effort by Dominguez there at the top of the screen to just take the football away. To watch Fields, #2, he just comes and goes right up the ladder, and Well, that's pretty darn good coverage.
We've seen some very athletic catches made. Leaping ability tonight from Matt Dominguez.
Well, they have a receiving core that's a very, very tall group. In fact, I said earlier, the shortest one is Karsten Bailey at 6 foot even.
Yeah, they're all power forwards.
Yes,
these
they
guys.
are. I mean, Fields did a pretty good job there, but what do you do? I mean, Dominguez is bigger, stronger, and he just takes it away.
Up the middle, look out, Corey Holmes. Another huge gain for the Saskatchewan slotback. 28 yards.
Wow, you know, when they woke up this morning and envisioned, you know, what kind of game plan are we going to execute tonight? What are we going to do offensively? This was it. I mean, they have receivers making excellent catches, running good patterns. They have Kenton Keith having a good night, and they have Corey Holmes when he's called upon to make big plays. And so when they woke up and said, this is the kind of night we want to have, this is the night they're having.
There's Holmes again. Well, I'll tell you what, the Rogers player of the game very well could be number 19. I'd say he's the leading candidate.
He's my number one right now.
You could tell us who you think today's Rogers player of the game should be during the fourth quarter of the game, or vote during the fourth quarter. Text message on your phone, go CFL, and of course put in the player's number and the letter of the team. So S19 would be pretty good right now. Brought to you by Rogers. Rogers, your world right now. 2nd and 8. Once again, Karsten Bailey. But that will be shy of the first down. And once again, Paul McCallum will come out and try to make it a 3-for-3 night. You have to be impressed with the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And although all of the pundits, all of the prognosticators in the preseason have picked this team to be one of the contenders in the West, if not for the Grey Cup, they haven't changed very much.
But you still have to come out and do it.
You have to do it, and they've done it.
They've had a flawless performance, I think, offensively tonight. A couple of times Winnipeg stepped up on defense, but you know, so far throughout almost 3 quarters of play, this has been a pretty impressive performance. This might be a freebie first down, too.
Flag on the play. Ball through the uprights. But
I think it's going to be a first down.
It will be a first down for Saskatchewan. And the Blue Bombers have come undone.
We'll see what lineup Saskatchewan sends in here. We'll wait for the call from Dave Ewell, but this is usually where a lot of times they throw a bone to Chris Zarka, number
Offside.
33.
Winnipeg 98. Half the distance. First down.
Newcomer Gavin Walls called on the offside.
Top of the screen to your left side there, no question, he jumps. Well, he saw movement, he went. But here's where a lot of times they give Chris Zarka the football. He's a very unselfish player, and when they get down near the goal line, a lot more often than not, they like to reward him. They don't do it here, but
Corey Holmes. Say hello to Lamar McGriggs. Loss of 1 on the play.
Travis Smith, the middle linebacker's in as a lead blocker here, and he didn't get much of a block on old Lamar McGriggs there, and he was in the backfield to make the play before it even developed.
The Riders, after a nightmarish start to the season last year, losing Nealon Green. 4-8 start, had to pick it up. Henry Burris came aboard.
Yeah, but Henry wasn't ready at that point.
No.
He had come back. He wasn't in game shape, so they really lost with that injury about 3-4 weeks.
2nd and goal. Green to the air again. Touchdown. Matt Dominguez. A little early birthday gift.
And here's where you see the advantage of the size of a Matt Dominguez. I mean, he's originally a tight end, converted to a wide receiver. Here he is. But when he gets in here, watch the end of the play. He positions his body. Fields cannot get around him. There's no way. A little push he got away with, but he's 220 pounds. The defensive backs are so small, they can't get around him. He's just a big frame to throw to.
Rider Nation celebrating after 3 quarters, up 38-15. 3 quarters down in Regina. 1 to go. Our stats brought to you by Rona, the how-to people.
Well, there you see it. I mean, time of possession absolutely huge for Saskatchewan. They've been effective. They haven't made a lot of mistakes. Winnipeg, a very inexperienced team playing together. Not a lot of rookies, but a lot of people, new people, and they have not been able to gel. And boy, again, Rod, you look at the importance of special teams, because it can really deflate an opponent if your special teams are kicking butt on every play. And Saskatchewan has set the tone time and time again tonight with their special team play.
Bombers getting a touchdown earlier from Keith Stokes on their special teams, but they have not been able to contain any of the returners. There's a hopper.
Whoa.
Through the legs of Stokes, through the 5-hole. He'll give up the single. Whoopsie-daisy.
Bill Buckner. Well, again, you know, these are tough kicks to handle, and you couple it with a very, very wet field. Whoop.
There you go, right by him. Bombers now trailing 39-15. And will scrimmage from the 35. 1 quarter to play. Trying to get something back, some sort of confidence. Look out now, Glenn. He heard footsteps. Terrell Jereniak was in on the play. Reggie Hunt was chasing.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people in Winnipeg are thinking, you know, it's 39-15. It's the 4th quarter. Why are we not seeing, you know, Russ Mickna or T. Martin in at quarterback? But I'm sure Jim Daly's thinking, like, with only 2 preseason games, Kevin Glenn has been named the #1 guy. I want to give him, and he deserves to get some playing time to try to work out a lot of things tonight.
Glenn brought down. Darnell Edwards on the safety blitz came in. And he has been seeing a lot of green tonight.
Now, and Richie Hall, the defensive coordinator for Saskatchewan, is saying, okay, you want to leave in here. I'm going to bring Darnell Edwards, my safety. He's going to come all the way around there. He comes a long way, but they throw the full house at Kevin Glenn. Nobody to pick Edwards up, and he doesn't quite make the play there, but it's enough to absolutely nullify Glenn from moving forward in the pocket.
John Ryan. Holmes lets this one get by him. No yards on the play. The Saskatchewan Roughriders leading 39-15 at Taylor Field on TSN.
Tonight's virtual first down line is brought to you by General Motors and all of its divisions.
Well, here's the sack attack from 04. Saskatchewan Hamilton with 49. Our sack tally brought to you by Purolator. Every sack helps Purolator tackle hunger across Canada. When a quarterback is sacked, Purolator will donate his weight in food to the local food bank. A couple of sacks tonight. Last year, 109 tons of food for Canadian food banks. Nealon Green has been sacked once tonight. It has been Saskatchewan's night for sure. What a home opener. What an opener for Nealon Green, erasing a lot of doubts about people who might have thought a year away after his broken leg he might be a little rusty. Not so.
Karsten Bailey with the reception. Let's go down to Ray Morrison on the sidelines.
Rod Kenton Keith went into the dressing room about 5 minutes ago. He's nursing a rib injury, and with the work that Corey Holmes has done tonight, obviously there's no need to take any extra added stress or try to make that situation any worse. So he's gone into the room just for some observation. That's all we know right now.
All right, thank you, Ray.
You're good.
Corey Holmes back in the game, seeing a lot of touches tonight, a lot of time. First touch of the game, he took back for a touchdown.
He got it off to a good start, didn't he? He's had quite a night, Corey Holmes.
If you're just joining us, this game was delayed a half an hour after a torrential rainstorm. A lot of lightning and thunder, lightning in the area. Power failure as well in the stadium. Matt Dominguez couldn't catch up with that. That's probably been, if anything, the weakness or a negative for Nealon Green tonight have been those hitch passes.
Yeah, they've tried to throw that quick screen to the wide receivers many times tonight, and for some reason Nealon Green seems to throw those ones down around the shoe tops, and it's a tough catch for Dominguez and the other wide receiver Karsten Bailey, because they're trying to move forward at the same time, and it's a very difficult reception to make.
Green out of trouble. Room. There's a flag on the play. Flags down in the Winnipeg secondary, down at the 29-yard line. Be an interference call back there. Once again, Dave Ewell. Blue Bombers have hurt themselves with some inopportune infractions
Illegal
tonight.
contact on a receiver. Winnipeg 37. Penalties declined. First down.
Again. That foot is hurting tonight. The Bombers have shot themselves in it a few times. Sean Woodson, who last year in a contract dispute sat out 2004. Very good player, former All-Star linebacker with the Blue Bombers this year. Look at the rushing numbers, Leif Pedersen.
Yeah, it's those rushing numbers really tell a story for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's right where Saskatchewan left off a year ago. They averaged how about 139 games a year. They're just slightly under that so far tonight, with certainly half of the fourth quarter remaining. But for Winnipeg, it tells the story that, when you're down 19-0 so early, and I know you want to involve Charles Robertson, he needs to be a focal point. You just can't get to him, and Roberts has only had 6 yards on the ground tonight.
They've hardly had the football.
Well, it just is, the flow of the game dictated that Roberts wasn't going to be a factor on the ground.
Penalty flag again. Elijah Thurman again rumbles for a few extra yards after the catch. Looks like a holding call against Saskatchewan. That will come back. You look at Winnipeg, though, defensively last year, they gave up a lot of yards per reception.
Saskatchewan 53. 10-yard penalty.
They also gave up a lot of yards per game. In fact, 9.2 yards per pass in 2004.
That's a big number.
Yeah, last in the CFL.
Yeah, 9.2 is a big number. You've got to be solid around in the mid-sevens. But 9.2 every time someone throws a football, your secondary is giving up a lot of yardage.
Riders have owned the football here tonight. Green launching. Dominguez could not catch up with it, overthrown. And that will bring out Paul McCallum once again to kick it away. With 11:29 to go. And a big Saskatchewan lead as they look to open this season with a bang, and they have.
Well, I get, when you look at this Saskatchewan team at the beginning of the year, and you kind of think, well, what's the identity of this team? How are they going to play? And first of all, you think veteran defense, they're going to be solid. They won't make a lot of mistakes. They haven't made any mistakes tonight. Offensively, a good running game, good receivers, nice blend, balanced attack, and that's exactly what you've seen.
Stokes at his 10 finds some room outside. Now it's a foot race. Stokes up to his 36-yard line. Broke one for a touchdown earlier, a 29-yard return. The Bombers have a big mountain to climb, however. Well, our first doubleheader next Friday night, Canada Day in the nation's capital. The Alouettes and Renegades, then off to Calgary. Stampeders' first game of the season, actually. New owner, new quarterback, new head coach against the Toronto Argonauts. It all starts at 6 o'clock Eastern next Friday. Wendy's Friday Night Football on TSN. 11 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. Former Rider quarterback Kevin Glenn finds newcomer Scott Cloman. Takes it past midfield. It's one of the biggest receptions for the Bombers tonight. 25 yards. They have not done much offensively.
Pretty good job by Cloman to find the nice hole. Glenn steps up. He's going to take a shot at the end of this play from Scott Schultz, and he got up limping. But Cloman, who they have not been able to get to the football too much tonight, does a nice job to pick up some extra yards.
Charles Roberts, silent night for him, spins. Everywhere number 1 has gone, there has been a green jersey close to him. And this Blue Bomber team celebrating its 75th anniversary in the Canadian Football League. Team with a lot of new faces, new direction after a 7-11 season last year. Glenn still to controls. That is a huge wobbler, and that had 6 written all over it.
Devin
Bush.
Oh, did he time that perfectly? Well, they'll be all over him in the film session tomorrow when they look at this, because he was waiting in the weeds and Kevin Glenn was looking. Bush read his eyes, and had he been able to hang on, keep his feet, he was gone. It's a veteran group back in this Regina secondary. They play well together. They're aggressive. They know and understand situational defense. They take gambles at the right time. A very impressive group.
John Ryan. Corey Holmes at his 10, up to the 15, and that's it. Riders, good start to the 05 season. Nealon Green still in the game for the Green. 9 minutes to go. Excellent start for Nealon Green here tonight. Hands off to the star of the game, however, Corey Holmes. Makes you wonder, too, if this score increases or stays this way for the next few minutes, if we might see Marcus Crandall get some reps tonight. He's the backup, the former Stampeder quarterback.
I was thinking the same thing. I thought maybe at this point in the game, it's about halfway through the 8 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, you might start to see a Marcus Crandall and give him some snaps under center.
But you know something?
What?
8 minutes to go is a long time in the Canadian Football League. You get one right back,
I agree.
Turnover, touchdown, suddenly anything can happen. The baby is never in the bag in the CFL. But Winnipeg has not offered much resistance here tonight. 25-9 first downs. The pitch this time. A lot of Corey Holmes. Marcel Belfay, the offensive coordinator for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Well, I think the toughest job that he might have, based on what I've seen tonight, is to keep everybody active and happy. I mean, he's got a terrific receiving core, and
he's got one of the best who's watching in the stands.
Travis Moore, and of course the running game, and to work Corey Holmes in there nicely, which he's done tonight. Not only has he designed a nice offense for Nealon Green to execute, he's done a good job of keeping everybody involved in the game.
Zarka steamrolls.
I'm sure that he and Nealon Green and of course Danny Barrett would have input there. I mean, I'm sure they talk about those things. You know, we've got to keep everybody involved. I think Ibi Tunkara is probably the only receiver that has not caught a football tonight. And that's true. He hasn't had one. So everybody's touched the ball at least one time. So that's a good thing.
Callum back again. Stokes back again. 7:40 to go. Last year's special teams player of the year. Already has a touchdown this year. And Paul McCallum.
What was that?
That was a complete shank. He knows it. He was trying to angle it out of bounds. I don't think he meant 10 yards out of bounds. Here's a look. Whoops. Whoa. Oh well.
Tonight's virtual first down line is brought to you by General Motors and all of its divisions.
Back in Regina, 39-15, the Riders. The Bombers get the ball back thanks to Paul McCallum. It's Saskatchewan's 41. Still plenty of time. The Bombers have not threatened much offensively, if anything. Glenn trying to turn the power switch on. And Scott Cloman dropped it. Looked like he had it. And maybe should have had it.
Well, Jim Daly told us that Cloman had some outstanding speed, and this is the first time you've really been able to see effect of that, because he was in behind McCalla, and Edwards could not get over to help out either. And that was a good throw, a little wobbly by Glenn, but I mean, nevertheless, right on the money, and a catch that should have been made.
Again, if the Bombers can find the end zone, you never know what could happen. Peterson on the far sideline will be short of the first down by a couple of yards. At this point in the ball game, Bombers have to go for it. 6.5 to go. Jim Daly, first full year. Of course, was the interim coach last year after Dave Ritchie was fired. So the Bombers, 3rd and 4. That one was way over the head of Milt Stegall. That kind of night for Winnipeg.
Of course, that'll count as a turnover against Kevin Glenn and his offense tonight as well.
Not a good start. Best news for them, there's 17 more games to go. We'll try to right the ship next week against Edmonton. Here's our game story brought to you by Sport Check, the power of sport.
Well, it got off to a bang for Saskatchewan. Opening kickoff, Corey Holmes, 81 yards. Keith Stokes answered sometime later, but Nealon Green with a couple of touchdown passes. Corey Holmes, again, I'd be shocked if he wasn't leading in all-purpose yards after week 1. And he, of course, led all of 2004 in that category. He's had a terrific night.
6 to go. Play action again. Matt Dominguez, another catch for him in the season opener. That's 7 receptions for the Twin Eights. And you're going to hear a lot about Matt Dominguez this season. Only 5 games in 04. Again, cut by the New York Jets. I guess the Saskatchewan Roughriders can thank the New York Jets for cutting a couple of players. One, Dominguez, and Kenton Keith. It made their ball club a lot better last year when those 2 players came back.
And Edmonton Eskimos are happy with the Jets too, aren't they, with Ricky Ray?
Green over the middle again. Somebody lost a shoe. Jason French.
You know, this is a good catch to make because you're coming over the middle. You know, Wes Lysak, the middle safety, here he is. He's going to come right across, but you know in one-to-one coverage there that the safety is lurking. Now, you got to hang on. Chances are the hit is coming. It didn't really materialize that way, but you cannot have any fear in your heart when you're going to run that in pattern, and Jason French sure didn't. He made a nice catch.
Stanford Samuels blew his shoe there. Corey Holmes, nowhere to go. What an impressive start to the season for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Before this game, and games are not won on paper, but you and I talked about it, it looked like all Saskatchewan. You knew that Winnipeg was going through a lot of changes. Saskatchewan comes in basically with the same team that they ended last season off. Continuity. Powerful team offensively and defensively. And the Bombers still in rebuilding mode. It's worked out that way. Dominguez again, catch number 8.
Well, Rod, you know, I think it's safe to say you always want to come out and establish yourself early in a game, but especially to try to begin a season on a good note, and Saskatchewan did that tonight. Opening kickoff and offense clicked right away. Dominguez is having an excellent night. Not a huge night yardage-wise for 8 catches for him, but nevertheless a touchdown. Nice catch in the end zone. And you know, you really do want to establish yourself early in a game, and Saskatchewan has done that and really only had one critical point in the game where, you know, Winnipeg had a chance to answer and couldn't quite get it done.
Pump fake, going deep, overthrown. And you know, this is a good thing for the Saskatchewan Roughriders to erase the memory of 3 bad losses last year to the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. The Bombers have had their number. The last 5 games they have beaten Saskatchewan, but not so tonight. That streak will end. In fact, Winnipeg has won 9 of the last 10 against the Roughriders. Just over 3 minutes to go. Shotgun again. Green scrambling again. French with the catch. Another first down and more. Boy, that was a good time to duck. That would have hurt. On a wet night in Saskatchewan, the Riders continue to pour it on. Well, they have made some changes at Taylor Field. A brand new scoreboard, $1 million scoreboard in the end zone. They've had a lot of highlights tonight, Leif Pettersson.
Yes, they have. The fans have had a good time watching that.
A lot of people are going to go home happy here tonight, Saskatchewan fans. And they're going to have to put their clothes in the dryer. They might just have to throw them away. They were so wet early in this ball game. 415 yards offense, though. And they're not done. Nor is Corey Holmes. All purpose tonight. All world tonight. 12-yard pickup. Continues to rack up the mileage. Corey Holmes does. Here's what he's done right from the get-go.
Wow, watch this highlight pack. I mean, 81 yards right off the bat. Nice move on Westwood there, and that's what got and set the tone for this ball game early.
Zarka buries himself into 4 Blue Bombers. Then he had the punt return that set up a touchdown by Nealon Green. Look at the number, 66 on the ground, 22 in the air, 218 on the returns and the touchdown. Are you a little surprised that Nealon Green is still in the game? And I know he's probably still trying to give him some reps. Remember, he didn't play, with the exception of 9 plays, all last year. They do have Marcus Crandall, the new backup for the Riders. 2 minutes to go. I don't think you want to risk injury, however, to Nealon Green, because really, as Green goes, so go the Riders.
I agree. I think maybe I would have expected to see Marcus Crandall a little bit. You know, it's a terrific offensive line that's in front of Green to protect him when he has been throwing here in the 4th quarter. He hasn't taken a lot of shots tonight.
Tough crowd. They wanted him to go for it, and McCallum will come in.
No, this is the right thing to do. You don't rub your opponent's nose in. It's 39-15. You don't do that. You put the kicker in, take the points for sure. But that's a smart play by Danny Barrett. You know, what goes around comes around, and you don't want to give anybody else a little leg up down the road.
Well, Danny Barrett told us that the theme this year was get at it early and often. The Riders did tonight. They'll have the W.
And Saskatchewan takes a time count. They do that on purpose. They don't want to be kicking this one from the 10-yard line. They want to move back to the 15, a better angle. You know, Winnipeg, if they're smart, probably will refuse it.
Paul McCallum has a few chuckles tonight after the shanked punt. I tell you what, he wasn't laughing after the West final last year and what he went through. Interesting to note, those shoes that he had from last year in that game, McCallum actually sold those shoes for charity. I'm not sure what the winner did with those shoes, but McCallum has some new cleats this year, but trying to erase that finish of last year when the Riders were almost at the Grey Cup game. The kicker's worst nightmare.
Well, I mean, the test is not tonight for McCallum.
No, it isn't.
He is 4 for 4. He's had a good night. The test will be when he has to kick one under pressure for the win, and that will tell us whether he's over the hump.
Go, go, Canada, go. Let's get our wheels on the open road.
Get going, Canada. Hit the open road this summer and drive the world's greatest country. Visit your local RVC branch, pick up a free guide, and start planning your trip today.
There's no place in the world I'd rather be. Oh, Canada, this country's home to me.
Welcome back. Final moments of game 1 of the 2005 season for the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and Saskatchewan Roughriders. It will be a Rider rout, and a story in this game, the ineffectiveness of Charles Roberts, who has had some success against Saskatchewan, but not tonight. Just 7 yards.
Well, it's a different offensive line too tonight, Rod, than it was a year ago when they were opening holes for Charles Roberts. And you know, very clear in that when he had 100 yards, they win the football games. Tonight, 7 yards. They never really tried to establish Roberts on the ground.
Now Peterson drops the football. Few drop passes for the Blue Bombers tonight. Bombers have been in a free fall each season since their Grey Cup appearance in 01. That year they went 14-4. The next year 12-6, then 11-7, and then last year 7-11.
And of course, last year at 7-11 was the first time they missed the playoffs since 1999.
That one to no one. And a struggle tonight for former Rider quarterback Kevin Glenn. Milt Stiegel with a touchdown. 14 of 28, only 158 yards. And an interception. Bombers will be back at it against Edmonton next week.
So essentially they're playing Thursday. They got a short week to try to forget about this and put something together. And as Jim Daly said before the game tonight, he said, look, oh my goodness.
And it's getting worse. John Ryan brings down Scott Gordon. Gordon blocked a kick earlier, blocks another.
Well, again, it's Sean Woodson, and that's Gordon's second block of the night. But Sean Woodson, the up back, I mean, the up back right here, you've got to step up and take on the rusher. He gives ground right here, and you're asking for trouble. I wouldn't be surprised if we had a little change on the punt team next week, because Gordon's made them look rather ordinary on these on this protection. I mean, and he's not doing anything superhuman to get in there. It's just a matter of stepping up and making the block.
So the Riders will not go to the bullpen. Nealon Green will go the distance. The flag in the end zone. Chris Zarka tripped up.
And again, you know, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors with the Roughriders. Maybe, you know, Danny Barrett felt that this, just from an emotional and from a unity standpoint, was one of these things where, you know, I want Nealon to finish this game. I want him to be.
Saskatchewan 66, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, first down.
We know he's the guy, but we just want everybody to absolutely, totally be reinforced that he is the guy and he's going to finish this game tonight.
Again, he only played a mere 9 plays before breaking his left leg a year ago in the opener. A year later, a dynamite beginning for Nealon Green and the Riders. Once again, Zarka with the call. Final minute now. This Winnipeg Blue Bomber team, with all its changes, is going to have to get its act together. All the changes in the secondary, all the changes on the O-line, a few new faces in the receiving corps.
And again, with only 2 preseason games, it's tough to mold a group together.
Riders calling off the dogs. Will just take the knee. Keith Stokes, one of the few highlights tonight for the Blue Bombers, that return. And for a moment earlier in the ball game, it looked like the Winnipeg Blue Bombers got it back, but
it was 19-7. And the Bombers had a couple of good stands on defense right after that. The Stokes return for the touchdown. And that was the one challenge area for the Riders tonight. I mean, they met it, they drove down, but there was a critical point where this game could have maybe gone a different way.
And Winnipeg gave the ball right back. Turnovers costly tonight for the Bombers, but nothing really of note to write home about. 42-15 with 10 seconds to go. Nealon Green and the Saskatchewan Roughriders, a very successful home opener. Charles Roberts, a very forgettable night for the Bomber back. Still 4 ticks left on the clock. And that win streak by Winnipeg over Saskatchewan comes to an end. Corey Holmes, lightning striking around the stadium, bolts all in the pregame, and then Corey Holmes striking quickly. Kickoff return tonight, 81 yards. And all Riders after that. That's it. The Saskatchewan Roughriders. Nealon Green is back. And the Rider fans could not be happier. Huge win for Danny Barrett and the Riders. 42-15 to open the 05 season.
The CFL on TSN is brought to you by Wendy's, the official hamburger of the CFL. Do Wendy's, do what tastes right. By Rona, the how-to people. By Rogers Wireless, music phones, music features, live out loud. And by Molson Canadian.
Time now for the TSN turning point. We were going to make it the opening kickoff, which was taken back for a touchdown, but that would just be mean. So third quarter, we're going to make it a Saskatchewan touchdown. Nealon Green to Elijah Thurman. Nice pass, nice catch. They made it look easy for most of the night. A cash donation will be made to the Canadian Coaches Association for the training and development of amateur coaches across Canada on behalf of TSN. our next game. Week 1 is in the books. Week number 2 will be kicked off next Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. The Edmonton Eskimos, 1-0 with Ricky Ray, will travel to Winnipeg as the Blue Bombers will try to put it back together, and they will have their hands full with that guy right there. The player of the game is brought to you by Rogers Wireless. Rogers, your world. Right now, Corey Holmes, 306 all-purpose yards, ran away with the honors tonight. On behalf of the whole crew, this is Dave Renner saying thanks for watching. You are watching TSN, Canada's sports leader.